But we are very thankful for the huge participation that we see online. Flipping the script this year means to us that we are going to talk about the future. Because 2030 deadline is approaching, and it's the time where we should achieve our SDGs, but the path is still long. So during our fourth session in this edition, we will talk about how the SDGs can help the city to change the storytelling from a negative storytelling to a positive one using the SDGs. We will talk about how digitalization can change the way that cities can face their urban politics, and how the SDGs can help also to prepare their strategy in the virtual world. We will talk about also innovative public services, and we will have many concrete examples coming from all over the world. And we want also to highlight the need for cities to become local for action hubs, to make real the acceleration to the achievement of the SDGs. So let me thank, before concluding, let me thank the co-organizers of Venice City Solution, starting from UNDP, UN Habitat, UN Action Campaign, and UCLG, because thanks to our teamwork, we can bring each year the recommendation of Venice City Solution to the most important place where the SDG discussion is, that is the IHLPF in New York City. And we want that the voices of our cities around the world can be heard, because they are the place that they improved with the SDGs their politics, and they cannot suffer the others' decisions on this matter. So let me introduce the friends and the co-organizers that are joining us, starting from Diana Lopez Caramazana, Partnership Specialist, Cities and Local Governments, UNDP. So thank you, Diana, for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carla. It's a pleasure to be here once again. Every year we work a lot to be here, and then the most important thing is that when we leave Venice, there's always new ideas and new narrative. And for me, it's my favorite event of the year because it gives me like a path forward in the other 12 months. So sometimes I don't realize how much we learn from Venice every year, and how important it is, also since we are able to do it online, to bring so many voices from different countries around the world. Thanks to all the participants to be here with us today. So I think it's still the only event about cities and SDGs that is taking place every year, but every year we have to raise the bar, and we have to keep innovating and thinking next. So this year we are concentrating in this concept of flip the script, which has been put forward by the SDG campaign. Last year, remember, we said like flip the script, and the people were saying, what is this? And this year we have advanced so much about how the clock is ticking, and we have approved the SDGs in 2015. We have 7 years to go, and I think like now it's the time to start the clock ticking and see what are we going to do next. And for me and for UNDP, I have a lot of colleagues connecting today. We have 171 offices in the field, and they are supporting local governments. Habitat is doing a great job also on the diagnosis with the VLRs and supporting local governments. But of course, they need more tools and solutions. This is Venice City Solutions to make the SDGs a reality for all. And we have seen how the clock was ticking until 7 years ago. And then we brought along the local governments, we convinced them, and it's their agenda, and they are doing an incredible work, but we need to keep advancing on these solutions. First of all, I think that the SDGs have been groundbreaking. Nobody in the UN expected this kind of success, and it's partly because the cities have taken this, are advancing in the agenda, and it offers cities a range of possibilities to plan strategically, and to choose. We have, I don't know if you can see here, we have all the SDGs here, and then you have all this range, and then you choose one over the other, but you have the range of options. And then now, and this is always say that we have to go to the level of target and the level of indicators, and use to showcase what cities are doing, but use indicators that are a reality and are easy to take locally and are easy to monitor and establish baselines. But this framework of planning that the SDGs are offering is incredible, and I think that many cities are using them. And again, we need to bring them together and share experiences and facilitate more learning from what the cities are doing. So you have this range to choose, you can start measuring, but most importantly, it's a tool for communication. And this is what we have been working with UCLE this year in the campaign of Flip the Script. I think my colleague Xavi is going to talk a little bit more about that. But it's important that we communicate better and we recreate the trust in the role of public sector. This is key in our times. It's key also to use these SDGs, which are a global language. It's a global agenda. We always forget that it's a global agenda. It's the North and the South, and also in these times that we are living, these challenging times, to have this common language to communicate is even more important, I think, that when we approved the SDGs in 2015. So this Flip the Script is all very lovely, but the question is how? And we have designed these 4 sessions to see in different aspects of the life of local governments how they can use the SDGs to flip the script, to change the way that we are doing things. Sometimes it's going back to the way we used to do things. Sometimes it's recovering more traditional ways. Innovation is not always digital. Innovation is thinking about something that is not working. So we had these 7 years. Some things have worked, some things less. So how we flip the script and face the next 7 years that we have ahead of us to make Agenda 2030 a reality for all. So it's a challenge, like every year, but I'm sure that with the wonderful participants and speakers from all over the world, we will come out tomorrow with these recommendations that have always a lot of innovation and a lot of passion and good ideas. And then just as a reminder for our newcomers that we take these recommendations and we bring them to New York in July. I wanted to thank also the government of Italy that has been so kind to facilitate the presentation of the Venice City Solutions recommendations in the HLPF, the High-Level Political Forum. So then next year we will try to bring these messages, these voices, this innovation, and these flipping the script ideas. So let's go and find new solutions here in Venice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. And then I will give the floor to Martino Miraglia, Human Settlement Officer, UN Habitat. Martino, the floor is yours.
Hello, colleagues. Hi. I hope that you can all hear me well. So it's a pity not being in Venice, indeed, but it's good to be connected online and to see such a great participation. Let me share a big thank to you in person in Venice, Carla, Diana, and the colleagues of UCLG and the SDG campaign to put together this event together with the support of also UN Habitat. We are very honored to be part of it for the 5th time. So the 5th edition, I think it's quite a big achievement. And looking at also and building on also what Diana was saying, having the SDG summit and be it at the midpoint of the implementation of the SDGs, these Venice City Solutions can be one of the most important of the event, looking actually at what is coming forward. It's what I was thinking is that last time that I was in Venice was actually November 2019. And since then, up to today, kind of our world has changed radically, you know. And it's the world crisis has probably been the word that we have been using the most in the past 3 years. Climate change, health, economic crisis again, and conflicts. So everywhere we look, there is something going wrong, or at least this is the perception. What I do feel and what we all feel is that there is a critical need for a change. The problem here is that not all of us, what we don't all want to do is changing. So how do we produce change if we don't want to change? And that's where the concept and the process of the flip the script comes very handy, and it's very important because we really need, before even talking about governance, in my opinion, finance, capacity building, this is a a cultural shift that we have to produce, changing the narrative, changing the perception, and making sure that actually we work towards that change that will make us be sustainable for the future. If we don't have that shift in the way that we do act and perceive sustainability, we will never be able to achieve it. So congratulations to the colleagues really for the Flip the Script campaign and the whole process and movement that goes around it, because raising awareness and changing the language and the narrative around the SDGs and the importance and the key role of local governments is the first step to achieve the change that we would like to produce. I'm not going to repeat how local and regional governments are important, because this is going to be the 2 days of discussion. So I'll leave this to the colleagues and the partners. I will conclude with a short look ahead in the upcoming months, which are going to be very busy but very important. From a UN Habitat side, but here I'm talking also on behalf of few of our partners that are working with us. As of the beginning of the year, we are going to start working on VLRs and SDG localization in 18 different countries. This is done also by UCLG, with which we are developing a new module on SDG localization, building on the module 2 on territorial planning, as we have seen that SDG localization, specifically from a local government's perspective, initiate by mainstreaming the SDGs into local planning processes. There is going to be also a module on an online MOOC on voluntary local reviews. But what is important is that all of these activities, through experiences and processes such as Venice Solutions, are then brought at the international level. And ahead of us, there is not only the HLPF, the inputs that Venice Solutions can produce can be also brought into the more regional discussions. I'm thinking about the regional forums on sustainable development, and given Venice being in Europe at the end of March, we are going to have the EC forum in Geneva. This will bring us to the HLPF, which is going to be very important to collect those impact activities that we can then showcase in the SDG Summit. I will conclude by saying that 2023 is not the end date. We have other important events afterwards, and I'm happy to say that thanks to the hosting country of Egypt, the World Urban Forum 12 is going to discuss SDG localization. So everything as a main theme, everything that is going to be discussed today, we hopefully will bring it also with building on next year's edition to Egypt and the World Urban Forum. Over to you, colleagues. Happy to be connected online, and I wish you the best in Venice.
Martino, it's really a pity not to have you here, as we are sad not to have also Xavier Longan, UN SDG Action Campaign. Xavi, the floor is yours for your welcome words.
Thank you so much, Carla. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you to everybody who is joining online. I'm gonna echo some of Martino's words. I regret not having the chance to be in Venice this time myself. But it's really a pleasure and a privilege to be once more part of this conversation, part of this new edition of Venice City Solutions 2030, and to share this virtual stage with all of you, with the co-organizers, and with everybody joining. Let me also share special thanks to you, Carla, to Diana, and to the amazing team in UCLG for making this possible once again. There is a lot of work that goes behind this year on year, so we're really grateful for this effort. So the theme of this year, obviously, of this year event is local governments flipping the script to reimagine the city. So as Diana and Martino mentioned, this concept of flip the script has been, in a way, the main driver of a lot of our efforts this year, working from the UN SDG Action Campaign, which I represent, with United Cities and local governments, and with many of you. to translate this concept of flip the script into action. Essentially, the idea behind flip the script is the idea that we need to be bold, that we need to take action, and that in these very challenging times, Martino has referred to some of the crises that we're facing, we need to send a message of hope. And it's not just hope in terms of everything will be fine, don't worry. It's a hope with action, it's hope for action, and it's the idea that transformation, that change is possible when we act together. And that's what sits behind Flip the Script. We've seen that through COVID, for instance, we've seen that change is possible, that changing policies is possible. We've seen that change can happen very quickly, particularly when we take action. And we've seen also how this individual action from each one of us can have a global impact. And this is exactly what sits behind the call to action from Flip the Script. This is the narrative that we've developed at the UN's Action Campaign. This is the narrative that then we've worked with the UCLG team to make sure that we can turn it into a narrative and into tools and into messages and into assets that local governments can use. And so we've looked at what is needed the most at local level. We've heard from many local and regional governments what the priorities are, for instance, in terms of building trust at local level, of generating opportunities to combat inequalities at local level, and the need also for green transformation at local level. So we've looked at those issues, we've looked at those priorities, and we've worked together around mobilization, for instance, and just last September around the Global Week to Act for the SDGs, with local governments and with many other constituencies. We were able to generate 142 million actions from over 190 countries. We've also made an adaptation of this Flip the Script campaign for local governments, as I was saying, for local and regional governments. And we've developed the initiative SDG Tales to, as Diana was saying, look at how we can support local governments, not just to use the SDGs to plan better, to develop policies better, but also to communicate better and to take action better. So we've looked at how we leverage the SDGs and this concept of flipping the script to help amplify the actions and the messages coming from the local level with the members of UCLG from across the world. I look forward, and we look forward to discussing this in more detail and sharing what has been done, the learnings from this, from Flip the Script, from this adaptation of the campaign, from the mobilization in the sessions today and tomorrow. We look forward to that. And it's also important to leverage these learnings and this action, particularly now as we build momentum towards next year. And I think everybody, Carla, Diana, Martina, they have referred to the importance of next year as the midterm point for the SDGs. We're reaching halftime in this important effort. And then also the SDG Summit, which will present this unique opportunity to engage everybody on a global conversation on how we transform and accelerate the SDGs. This is where the Sustainable Development Goals will live or die. It's in this critical moment where we need to critically think about where we stand right now and where we want to go and what actions are needed to really make this shift, to make transformation possible and to accelerate all these efforts. So I'll stop here with, again, this invitation for all of us to flip the script together at this event and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Xavi, and congratulations for the campaign that we are joining. And now, on behalf of UCLG, we are honored to have Mayor Barry Verbanovic, Mayor of Kitchener and co-president of UCLG. Dear Mayor, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning in Canadian time to everyone. Your Excellency, Ambassador Ricci, dear city representatives, partners, and friends. It is indeed my pleasure to represent the constituency of local and regional governments at this edition of Venice City Solutions 2030. Let me begin by thanking the co-organizers UN Habitat, UNDP, the UN SDG Action Committee, ECRA, the Italian Association for the Council of European Municipalities and Regions, and of course, our friends at the City of Venice for hosting this event that makes us flip the script and rethink how cities make sure that the sustainable development goals are a reality for all. Let me also thank our amazing UCLG team in Barcelona, who work tirelessly year-round and practically 24/7 to support this initiative and so many others on behalf of the world's cities and regions. We have seen over the past years the impact of the pandemic in health. We've seen losses in regards to gender equality, to social justice, in the midst of a climate emergency that is already felt strongly in many corners of the world, including our host city, the City of Venice. We are seeing that women, children, persons with disability, and those living in informality are the hardest hit. This is not new in history, but our answer must be different this time. We must redefine what is essential by building a framework of equality and inclusion, a framework of co-creation and collaboration between stakeholders and orders of government, one that includes everyone in decision-making processes. It's also time to transform our relationship with our ecosystems, transforming all of our models to develop caring systems, to protect environmental rights, and to harness the potential of local and regional governments in developing a vision for a better life, considering the role of regions, small towns, and intermediary cities in transforming how we both produce and consume. To flip the script, we need a true recovery that provides equal access to quality education for all, employment opportunities for youth and people with disabilities, professional and vocational training and upskilling on soft and digital skills, ensuring that the digital transformation is met with both enhanced digital rights and opportunities. 2023 presents to ourselves as a whole different scenario. We need to go beyond bold statements, beyond commitments, and ensure action at all levels. Achieving the 2030 agenda is about acting, about taking transformative action, about better communicating so we can back trust with our own citizens, bringing about change and inspiring others. In fact, in my own city, the City of Kitchener, will be opening an SDG incubator focused on sustainability businesses, social enterprises, and those led by equity-seeking groups. It's one way that we're doing our part here in Kitchener, Canada, to flip the script and really move the SDG agenda forward. Next September, the SDG Summit will take place under the auspices of the UN General Assembly, 4 years after we met in 2019, and marking the midterm review of the Sustainable Development Goals. The SDG Summit in 2019 saw us, both local and regional governments, committed to protecting our communities, to transforming our systems, and to ensuring that we would enter the decade of action in the best shape possible. Prior to the SDG Summit in 2023, we will see SDG 11 in review. As local and regional governments, we understand SDG 11 to be the cornerstone for the localization of all other goals and integral to the achievement of the 2030 agenda. We will seek to place SDG 11 at the center, pointing out the role of cities in promoting local services, to rethink sustainable and resilient ways of production and consumption, and all from an urban perspective. Ahead of 2023, local and regional governments have advocated in every platform and every international event for a role as actors for transformation, as both partners and accelerators of the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. The review of SDG 11 allows us to reinvigorate a sustainable development goal without which it will be impossible to achieve the others. Venice City Solutions is, in that sense, an important step for our constituency to showcase and communicate how we are driving change while identifying new ideas to bring transformation further. We must ensure that the year ahead is a turning point to bring back the implementation of the SDGs at the core of our collective action, fostering the localization of the universal development agendas as one. Our constituency of local and regional governments is committed through concrete actions to achieve the global goals, developing instruments, building enhanced local service provision, fostering innovation, and learning from each other. Finally, Excellency, dear colleagues, we need to consider the displays of care from local and regional governments during these past years in any and all multilateral strategies. Feminist and caring local policies indeed lay the foundation for an inclusive approach to respond to the foundational moment we face, addressing inequalities, transforming our relationship with our ecosystems, and ultimately achieving the SDGs. Just as we call for including our communities in the international system, it is also critical to include women in all populations whose voices have not been represented at local, but also national and international levels. Transformation needs to go hand in hand with acknowledging the value of care and those who have often provided care without the recognition they deserve. Ahead of the milestones that we face in the coming years, and in order to meet the urgencies that we're confronted with, we need to foster a renewed, a more inclusive multilateral system based on ownership, co-creation, and peace as the only way that we will meet these goals. I am certain that Venice City Solutions over the next 2 days will be a crucial step to flipping the script, to reimagine the city, life in the city, and how local and regional governments rethink their roles as actors for transformation to bring it even further towards 2023 and beyond. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join you this morning.
Thank you, Mayor and Co-President of UCLG. I totally agree with what you said. We have a very huge agenda as UCLG constituency and as a UCLG family, because we need to co-create concrete solutions for all the local authorities that has to face these difficult global challenges. And now, I must say that being Italian, I must say that we are lucky, because since we started with Venice City Solution, we had the great support of Italian government in our activity. And now, today, we are really honored to have with us His Excellency Marco Ricci, Ambassador Plenipotentiary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Italy. So, Ambassador, thank you for being here with us, and we would be grateful to have from you an opening statement to start our works of Venice City Solution.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary General. Thank you, Carla, and thanks to the organizers of Venice City Solution for the opportunity to intervene in the 5th edition of this event that can be considered a benchmark in localizing the SDGs. Italy strongly believes in the localization of the SDGs and supports this approach both at national and international level. As a representative of the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, I will mostly focus on the external dimension of our support to the localization of the SDGs. But before doing so, I would like to make some brief remarks on our development cooperation action as part of our foreign policy. One of the greatest historians of international relations, Pierre Renouven, first emphasized that a country's foreign policy is not simply the result of its diplomatic relations. Most of the decisions taken by a country in the foreign arena are the results of various domestic factors, the so-called deep-rooted forces, deep-rooted elements, forces profondes, which include geography, economy, demography, religion, national feelings, the role of public opinion, and more general, the influence of the media, we would say today, the social media. As international development cooperation is intrinsically connected to foreign policy, the same criteria of the deep-seated forces could be applied to explain the reasons behind international cooperation. The Italian law refers to international cooperation as a qualifying factor of our foreign policy. It is not the case that since 2014, the Italian ministry is called Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Talking about deep-seated forces in the area of cooperation, there are various sectors of cooperation in which Italy is recognized for its capacities. I'm thinking of the humanitarian sector, the food security sector, but there are two areas in which we have a sort of comparative advantage and due to our specific history, and these are the protection of cultural heritage, and the other one is territorial partnership. Why territorial partnership play an important role in international cooperation? Because Italy is a country of small and medium-sized cities. Many of these cities played an important and active role in different time in history, and developed a wide network of city-to-city partnership and international cooperation experiences. For decades, Italian regions and municipalities have mobilized the various actors and resources of their territories, such as the Chamber of Commerce, the university, the private sector, civil society, research center, to build successful partnership for sustainable development. Today, Italy is a highly decentralized country composed of municipalities, provinces, metropolitan cities, and regions, which are autonomous entities with their own status, powers, and functions. The fact that this year, at the high-level political forum, Italy presented its second voluntary national review, which included 20 voluntary local reviews, shows the commitment and the key role played by local communities. Our intention is to support sharing the knowledge gained in this process to contribute to the capacity of partner countries to do the same. I would like now to highlight three main lines of action which characterize our support to the localization of the SDGs in the context of the Agenda 2030, our role in the G20, our involvement in the local 2030 coalition, and last but not least, our support to UNDESA for capacity building. Last year, during the Italian presidency of G20, in the context of the Development Working Group, which I had the task to chair, we decided to make localization of the SDGs as one of the priorities and to focus specifically on intermediary cities. We realized that worldwide intermediary cities have a large potential to reduce poverty and create market opportunities for the neighboring rural regions, thus creating effective rural-urban linkages. Nevertheless, in most developing countries, intermediary cities face at least three binding constraints, hindering their potential to drive local and national development. First, a knowledge gap due to a generalized lack of information and reliable data. Second, a policy gap, as many countries lack an integrated focus on rural-urban linkages and rarely include intermediary cities in national development plans, usually addressing their needs through fragmented policies that overlook their roles within the urban system. And third, a financing gap related to the limited capacity and authority of intermediary cities to mobilize resources and generate revenue. Since in most cases central government themselves don't have the financial resources to fix these gaps, subnational entities are often neglected in the national urban policies and have very limited capacity to cope. Needless to say, intermediary cities are very often overlooked in international cooperation programs. During our presidency in 2021, the G20 adopted the 10 Rome high-level principles on city-to-city partnerships for the SDGs, which highlight key areas for advancing on SDG localization while taking into account the diversity of intermediary cities across G20 and developing countries. In addition, we launched, in collaboration with OECD, and UN Habitat, a G20 platform on SDG localization and intermediary cities to support their development potential, promoting peer dialogue, knowledge sharing, and capacity building on effective approaches to SDG localization. The platform has been conceived as an inclusive mechanism open to all relevant stakeholders, including representatives from non-G20 countries, international organizations, as well as national, regional, local government representatives and their networks. Building on the 10 Rome high-level principles on city-to-city partnerships for the SDGs, in the next years, the G20 platform will prepare a compendium of good practices on city-to-city partnerships for localizing the SDGs to support the generation of pilot projects and new partnerships between intermediary cities and territories in G20 and partner countries. I would also like to mention, as part of our broader support to the localization of the SDGs, that Italy has been invited to join the steering committee of the Local 2030 Coalition, and that we are determined to play an active role both at the political level as well as with concrete actions to ensure the success of this coalition. We are aware that there is no one-size territorial approach. SDG localization is country-specific. A successful SDG localization initiative is not just the result of allocating resources. It is a dynamic mix of multidisciplinary know-how, experimentation of innovative practices verified case by case in different countries, involving in various combinations private and public, local and non-local actors at different decision-making levels. This is why we are planning to support the Local 2030 Coalition with a knowledge hub to foster knowledge on SDG localization and translate knowledge into concrete policies for SDG localizations in different countries. Last but not least, our support to UNDESA to contribute to the capacity building of government officials at the national and sub-regional levels for effective SDG implementation. Last year, we supported the participation of partner countries conducting their VNRs in UNDESA's second global workshop held in Botswana. Right now, we are supporting a project aiming to contribute to the development of the VLRs and their linkages to voluntary national reviews in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, and local governments in the cross-border Chaco region of Argentina, Bolivia, and Paraguay. These are a few of the lines of action in the field of the localization of the SDGs that we pursue at the international level to support a local approach to a successful implementation of the Agenda 2030. An approach whose main role is nevertheless played by the cities themselves in a time when the multiple challenges posed by the COVID pandemic and climate change call for quick and innovative responses. Urban areas have been hit hard by those challenges, but many local governments were frontline responders to the crisis and indispensable drivers of a sustainable recovery. The crisis has exposed vulnerabilities, but it has also triggered innovative responses. An OECD study mapping cities' policy responses to COVID-19 shows the relevant role they played in implementing nationwide measures, but also as laboratories for bottom-up and innovative recovery strategies. We are fully convinced that local governments can play a critical role in flipping the script, contributing to develop new models where the old ones have failed. In this context, I would like to mention that as Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, we actively participate in the UN SDG Action Campaign to flip the script with Insieme per gli SDGs, Together for the SDGs, an initiative focused on the younger generation to support and develop participatory politics and active citizenship. Each stage of Insieme per gli SDGs aims at creating links and relationships between our national and international partners and the local realities and communities with the aim of bringing out and enhancing the best local experiences. In the past 2 years, several Italian cities took part in this initiative, starting from Bari and then Roma, Teramo, Prato, Cremona, Siena, Milano, Brescia. The last one was Bergamo just a few weeks ago to highlight the role that everyone can play in achieving the SDGs. I'll stop here. I thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to hearing the contribution of the participants to the various sessions of this two-day event, being sure that the key messages and recommendations of the 5th edition of Venice City Solution will definitely be a valuable contribution to next high-level political forum. I wish you a successful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Your presence here is very, very important, not only for the support of our event, Venice City Solutions, but also to confirm the support of the Italian government to the local authorities in general and how they deal with the 2030 agenda. We believe that the multi-government dialogue is fundamental if we want to achieve these common goods and all the goals that we have in our agenda. So thank you very much for your support. And now we are ready to launch the first session, the red session. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now we are ready to start with the red session that will deal with a digital transformation to flip the script. So let me introduce firstly our speakers. We have a mayor, Belinda Gottardi, mayor of Castelmaggiore in Italy. She's very active on 2030 agenda. She's also a CMR spokesperson on climate, and she also a member of the Congress of the Council of Europe. And then, of course, she will represent the mayors in this session. Then we have Mr. Massimo Renno, that is president of Botteghe del Mondo, president of IRES in Italy and at international level. He's dealing also with international cooperation, and he represents in this session our third sector. Then we have Mr. Shi Qi, that is Director of Center for International Friendship Cities of Xi'an, Municipal Foreign Affairs Office in China. Welcome. And we have, well, I must say that Xi'an is our most experienced local for action hub. So we know Xi'an very well, and we are very happy to have the representative of our hubs here in this session. And we have also with us Mr. Diego Madinelli, CEO of Studium Group, that is a communication agency that is dealing at international level on sustainability, and he will represent in this session our private sector. So let's start saying how we can deal with this difficult topic, because it's not something that we are used to deal with. You know, digital innovation is, of course, a tool, and as for every tool, can provide advantages, but also many challenges. It depends how we use it. So if we have to think about how can cities use the digital innovation to provide the best quality of public services, we can have a different reaction. If we speak with the young people, of course, they are enthusiastic about digital innovation because it makes simple their life. They are very ready to use it. But we have to take into account that there are citizens that can feel afraid of digitalization as a way, for example, to lose some jobs in the labor work. So how can we try to build a virtual reality where the benefit of the digitalization can overweight the risk of it? How can talking about SDGs in Venice City Solution, how can the SDGs improve the virtual world as they are trying to change the real one? They are trying to find, to provide solutions and to flip the script of the reality. How can we use those also in the virtual reality? I would like to say that if we want to govern the process such a digitalization, we have to start thinking that we need to put the human being at the center of our politics, locally and globally, because we need to keep in mind that we need to escape from these inequalities as we have in the real world, if you want to manage a new reality that is based on equality. And we must be sure that the cities can take part of this process. We were talking, the same word was used by our mayor, the co-president of UCLG, the co-creation, but we heard again by the ambassador, we need to co-create our future and also our virtual reality, because we cannot leave this kind of stuff only to some representative of some sectors. We know that in digitalization, the private sector is far ahead of the others, but we need to keep in mind that we need to co-create this new world. So when we talk about virtual cities, we need to think, if we want to create a place where the principle is ethical, we think about ethics of this new world, or just we want to leave it as a business model of consumption. If we want to use the virtual world to provide solutions from what we have right now. I'm thinking about the effect of the climate change. Do we want to recreate this disaster in the virtual world, or do we want to use the SDGs, the 2030 agenda as a roadmap to create this parallel world? When we think about the invisible ones, the people that are not representative in the real world, what we think about the virtual reality? Do we want to make them visible, or just we leave it as a place for game avatar scenario? So starting from these questions that we have in mind, because the topic is very complicated right now, but is a reality because it is still in process, the construction of our virtual world, I would like to provide you a few points as they are the advantages of this new world, the metaverse. If we think about information, for example, we know that talking about cities and public administration, when we deal with information, we know that everyone has went to their website. They are so complicated. They are not technically updated. In the metaverse, with this digital transformation, we are sure that we could have much more information, more details one, and we can have something different from what we have now. Maybe much more public services online. Again, if we think about mobility, we have been through the COVID-19 pandemic, and due to the online services, we could have such public services. So the metaverse, the virtual reality, can be an advantage for the citizens. Again, thinking about socialization. To socialize, you need time. Think about people that have problem with mobility and they cannot join some social events that cities are preparing. Think about not only problem with mobility, but thinking about childcare, family care. You don't have time to join some events. And with the metaverse, with this virtual reality, you can take part. You know, you have heard for sure that The next March, we will have the first Fashion Week all in the metaverse. You know for sure that many concerts have been taking place in the metaverse already. So people can join those events staying at home, virtually. We can have maybe a new word, where we can have new jobs, new kind of jobs, maybe to save the ones that are unemployed right now. But obviously, if these can be some advantages, some benefit that pop up in mind immediately, you have to think about the risk of this new word that has to be taken into account. First of all, information. We were saying that it could be better to have much more information from the cities and so on, but at the same time, who is going to check on the information? Will we risk to have disinformation, bad information? Who will control, monitor the kind of information that we will have in our virtual world? Because there are no rules in that place. Again, accessibility. When we talk about accessibility and we talk about the metaverse, we have to keep in mind that to access to this new world, you need to have some device. You need to wear some sort of glasses or whatever it will be in few years. But those devices can be a problem of disequality because they are very expensive, and they can be the difference between a citizen that can join or not joining this kind of world. And then for the labor market, maybe in the virtual world, we need some specific professional skills. Are we sure that the people unemployed can join this kind of market, having those skills that are requested? So today in Venice City Solution, we will have in mind many, many questions. And we don't have the answers because it's a field that is still in process. It's improving, but it still exists. And we need what we want, and this is why we are launching this kind of innovative session from Venice City Solution. We want the city to be part of this process of co-creation of this new reality, because it's important that they stay active and proactive in order to participate to this implementation. Today, unfortunately, we don't have with us the National League of American Cities due to a last-minute impediment, but I will provide for you the case studies that we were going to listen from them. The National League, the American cities, are really making a real study on what is going to be the digital process that is bringing us to the metaverse. So I will provide you 4 examples of 4 American cities that are implementing in different way their digital transformation. Let me start with the city of Buffalo. The city of Buffalo, New York, has 206,000 inhabitants, 136 square kilometers of the cities. And they are using the augmented reality. What does it mean? That they are promoting their homestead parks using some sort of devices. Visitors, residents that want to be in the park can find some tools like a Q code. They download in their mobile this Q code, and they can have on their mobile the picture of what is that place where they are in the history. So you have a 2 parallel vision, the reality, what you see with your eyes, and with your mobile in parallel, what it was that place at that time. That means that you can go through the parks and having this cultural trip, historical trip. That means that they are not only implementing the tourism in their parks, but they are also providing something that is cultural. We were talking about heritage with the ambassador a few minutes before. So let's see how this augmented reality can change also the offer of a city in the world. So this is the case of Buffalo. But let's move to another level of technology. And then we go to Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, a city of 300,000 inhabitants, 155 square kilometers. They are using the Internet of Things. That is another level of virtual reality. That means that they are using cameras, devices, to make the smart traffic system. This system is made only by the communication between the device, the camera, without any interference of the human beings. So all the traffic in the city is managed by the cameras and the device that are talking together. That was an experiment that did great results. The quality of life in that city is much better. The residents are not queuing as they were before, not in the car, not in the crossroads. And so this kind of technology helped the city to deal with the problem, to flip the script from a negative to a positive things. The third example is the city of Boston in Massachusetts. 650,000 inhabitants, 232 square kilometers. They created the digital twin of the city. We have two cities, the city of Boston and the twin that is virtual, is in 3D, is city in 3D. Why? Because they are using this 3D vision to monitor what is the water system, what is the subservices, the foundation of the city. If they want to implement, to change or to restore this part of the city, they are using the 3D model. They can do simulation, they can project, exchange with the citizens their vision, but mostly they can take care of every single building in the city because they want to achieve a goal that is the net zero carbon emission of every building. So think how the technology can help the planning agency of a city to develop some innovative idea with these simulations. And then the last example I want to bring you is the city of Santa Monica in California. 90,000 inhabitants, 21 square kilometers. Just to provide you the dimension of these cities. Santa Monica is the first American city in the metaverse. They are still there. It means that they are using a social app that is a Flip Play in coordination with a private non-profit association, DTSM. They are trying to involve the citizens in the metaverse to visit the neighborhood that are affected by crime. They are trying to push them to be with their avatar in that place, because if they go through those streets that are affected by crime, they can collect, for example, in the shop, some discount, some benefit that they can use in the real world, in the real retailers. That means that they are using the metaverse to flip the script and to take into account a real problem they have in their city. They are using street art to make more likable these neighborhoods that are not so visited, and to push the real citizens in the real world to visit that place and not to feel the same fear that they have right now. So how technology can be implemented, can be used in this virtual world, also to solve real problem in the real cities. This is the challenge that we have ahead, and I want to talk with our speakers about this. So let's start asking to our speakers how we can flip the script, how we can start from a negative storytelling to a positive one, using this kind of technology, this virtual world. So to the mayor, Miss Belinda Gottardi, we were talking about American cities, great cities. I didn't say Seoul. Seoul is also investing millions in the metaverse right now, to have all the public service there, to have all the traffic system, to have all the tourism offer on the metaverse. But what about you, mayor of an Italian municipality, a place where municipalities are not so big and not so maybe advanced with this kind of technology? What is, from your point of view, the risk of thinking about this virtual world and maybe flipping the script, the advantages as a mayor? The floor is yours, Belinda. Thank you.
Grazie per questa opportunità. Come veniva sottolineato, io sono sindaca di un comune di 19.000 abitanti italiano e questo già dà la dimensione. E dicevo, già questo ci dà la dimensione e il senso che l'esperienza della mia città è molto diversa da quella
de la taille de la ville et de l'expérience de la ville.
È molto diversa da quella di città come Seoul, Boston e quelle che venivano citate. E come diceva il dottor Ricci, i comuni medio-piccoli sono quelli in maggiore difficoltà perché hanno meno risorse e meno competenze. Il mio comune, così come i comuni italiani, sul metaverso sono ancora molto indietro e non hanno sviluppato ancora le progettualità che venivano similari a quelle che venivano citate prima. Però io lavoro nell'amministrazione comunale ormai dal 1990, svolgendo diversi incarichi e ho visto il passaggio dall'utilizzo della cabina telefonica e del fax alla situazione attuale in cui il comune non ha più solo il giornale cartaceo con cui comunicare, ma ha Facebook, Instagram e tutti i social network. E io ritengo che ci siano più opportunità che problemi, o meglio, da amministratrice locale penso che le difficoltà che si incontrano noi le dobbiamo risolvere, per cui non sono abituata a parlare in termini di problemi, ma in termini di soluzione. Quello che noi abbiamo potuto constatare oggi con l'utilizzo dei social network è che abbiamo più possibilità di comunicare, ma soprattutto più possibilità di interagire con i cittadini. Ovviamente c'è una fascia di popolazione che non accede per ragioni generazionali agli strumenti più innovativi, ma con quelle persone continuiamo a dialogare con i metodi tradizionali, quindi con l'assemblea pubblica, con il giornale cartaceo che riceviamo a casa, ma quelle fasce di popolazione più giovani che spesso le amministrazioni comunali fanno più fatica a contattare, con le quali abbiamo più difficoltà a entrare in contatto, le stiamo invece raggiungendo con le storie di Instagram, che solo qualche anno fa ci sembrava qualche cosa di fuori dalla logica e dalla modalità di comunicazione e di interazione di un'amministrazione comunale, che invece oggi sono uno strumento quotidiano di dialogo. Quindi quali sono i problemi? I problemi sono che qualcuno può essere escluso. Lo sono stati le fasce, i bambini appartenenti alle fasce sociali più fragili durante il lockdown provocato dal Covid, quindi bambini e bambine che non avevano la connessione internet e non avevano uno strumento informatico che per collegarsi alla didattica a distanza. Su quelli la soluzione è che il comune e le amministrazioni comunali intervengano per fornire gli strumenti a chi non se li può permettere. Può essere che qualcuno sia escluso per un fattore generazionale e a questo punto noi attiviamo dei corsi di informatizzazione per diciamo le fasce meno giovani. Le opportunità Le opportunità sono che in un mondo che va sempre più veloce e che ci pone sempre nuove sfide, questi nuovi strumenti che sono quelli digitali, dei social network, della realtà virtuale, ci aiutano a fronteggiare quelli che sono i problemi e le nuove sfide di una società più complessa, più articolata, più evoluta per certi versi, ma che a nuove complessità ci sfida a nuove risposte, per cui il metaverso lo stiamo iniziando a studiare, stiamo iniziando a progettare, a studiarlo, ad approcciarlo con i nostri studenti. Appena avremo le competenze cercheremo anche di utilizzarlo per appunto raccogliere queste nuove sfide. Una cosa che abbiamo fatto e che non facevamo per esempio prima del Covid era utilizzare lo streaming, utilizzare lo smart working. Oggi noi siamo in grado di raggiungere, per esempio, per le nostre assemblee cittadine di approfondimento, di informazione, di dialogo, anche attraverso lo streaming, e quindi oltre a coloro che vengono in presenza possiamo intercettare anche coloro che non possono muoversi per motivi sociali. Nello stesso tempo le iniziative culturali, oltre a svolgerle a teatro, le mandiamo anche online, e questa è un'opportunità di intercettare un pubblico più ampio e anche di ampliare il nostro raggio di azione e di interazione. Parlerei un'altra ora, ma mi fermo qui per non rubare troppo tempo.
Linda, I think that is really important to have the cities taking part of the discussion, because as mayors you have in mind the good for the citizens. So the fear of exclusion is an important issue that we have to keep in mind. But at the same time, as mayor, you are very proactive and ready to be open to the new opportunity of this technology. So thank you so much. And let's ask the same question to Massimo Renno. The third sector is always very attentive to the social aspect. And we heard from the mayor, Gottardi, that exclusion could be one of the risks. What are the risks from your point of view to enter in the metaverse, and how we can try to flip the script and to make these risks and negative things becoming a positive one? Massimo, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Buongiorno a tutte e a tutti, grazie intanto per questa presenza e per questo invito, è sempre un piacere. Tutti gli inviti hanno un po' il privilegio di spezzare la seduzione, no? Di un racconto che è sempre solo individuale, no? E quando si cerca di interpretare la realtà e cercare di cambiarla ribaltando il copione. Io rappresento una delle realtà di commercio solidale e anche di altre economie di Venezia che hanno voglia ancora di sfidarsi ribaltando il copione con una visione dal basso e di nominare l'Agenda 2030, di darle ancora futuro, di credere ancora nella fiducia delle relazioni e nel principio della convergenza, della intersezionalità di ogni azione di cura da parte di tutti gli attori sociali a tutti i livelli. Questa domanda è molto importante, come lo è, diciamo, una discussione molto innovativa quest'anno per la Venice City Solution, che non ha solo il pregio di dire quali sono gli aspetti negativi o positivi, ma proprio questo effetto di girare il copione, di tradurre in possibilità tutte le complessità, no, del mondo. In questo caso parliamo di digitalizzazione, di metaverso, no? Ma anche parliamo di interazione tra una realtà analogica e realtà virtuale, tra realtà materiale e realtà interattiva. Quindi c'è bisogno, io credo, di allestire nei contesti del cambiamento, e l'Agenda 2030 è uno di questi contesti, e le persone, l'essere di senso, qualcuno direbbe, servono dei legami che siano oggi o in futuro per le nuove generazioni, digitali o virtuali, queste saranno l'unica forma di contatto e di relazione. Serve quindi dare anche questa proporzione e questa prospettiva, questo sogno di cambiamento, no? Che sia qui oggi nel reale o che sia nel metaverso che verrà o nei metaversi che verranno. Le risposte per me sono sempre le stesse: giustizia, pace, prosperità, uguaglianza. Abbiamo bisogno di una geometria di spazi virtuali che risignifichi, ricollochi e rimotivi tutti i cittadini, tutte le comunità a questo cambiamento. Noi ci proviamo e ci proponiamo di immaginare un metaverso equo, fatto di tante cosmovisioni, di tante pluriversi, di tante comunità, coinvolgendo dal basso, con i nostri linguaggi, tutte quelle che sono le nostre contronarrazioni. Cambiare il copione quindi significa prima di tutto interpretare e far emergere, a mio avviso, le contraddizioni che emergono dalla storia contemporanea, aiutare la nostra libertà e quella degli altri, no? Compresa quella che verrà, che è un'esperienza digitale immersiva, e di contrastare in modo particolare la produzione di un'unica realtà, diciamo, web capitalista, evocando tutte le esperienze, i linguaggi, che si siano analogici o digitali, ma che occupino lo spazio tra chi fabbrica la crisi climatica, sociale e culturale, la sindemia che ci ha investito in modo particolare in questi anni, e chi la subisce, e farci particolarmente carico anche della fatica di chi si è perso la connessione per l'uguaglianza, di chi si è perso la connessione per la povertà di mezzi e di risorse. Per questo motivo cambiare il modo di stare nel mondo, a prescindere da quello che ognuno di noi crede sia opportuno o meno, significa cambiare appunto noi stessi. Abbiamo due opzioni possibili: no? Scivolare sul terreno del realismo digitale, cioè che è in salsa metaverso, seguendo la metanarrazione, questa morale digitale un po' a macchie, e stare in ogni posto del futuro web business in nome e nel senso di garantire a una sorta di realismo del cambiamento la medesima crescita, il medesimo modello di sviluppo economico, le medesime logiche di profitto e di trasparenza un po' a senso unico. Oppure abbiamo un'opzione che è quella di far luce su quello che ancora ci motiva e di esigere anche una pulizia semantica del concetto di metaverso, che è ancora un po' nebuloso, cioè essere ancora dentro un mondo reale o fare l'identico più il commercio, cioè riflettere sulla produzione della realtà per cambiare il sistema. In quale direzione si sta orientando il web? Qual è il rischio? Una democratizzazione del sapere, o abbiamo una riproposizione dei saperi tradizionali e di rapporti di potere da sempre presenti nell'universo della conoscenza? L'assunzione di una visione di metaverso centrata solo e unicamente sulle tecnologie riduce la diversità, ha un modello, a mio parere, solo unificato e standardizzato, che nega condizioni di contesto e caratteristiche proprie di ogni ecosistema. Quindi le risposte della digitalizzazione alla complessità del reale sono spesso inadeguate, ci sono tanti benefici chiaramente, ma una certa narcolessia, un certo adattamento e una forma anche di anoressia ai sentimenti dell'altro, percepito sempre solo attraverso una connessione, senza relazione, crea forme pericolose di bulimia di consumo. Quindi il rischio di passare, come si dice, dalla padella alla brace, ovvero da un sistema che produce e fabbrica la crisi, da un capitalismo analogico all'imperialismo digitale, in un mondo di illusioni digitali, ancora senza architettura sociali e con pochi gatekeeper, cioè quindi il tema dell'accesso. Il rischio che il piacere digitale sia solamente il centro del consumo moderno e che si organizzi sempre solo autoprogettandosi dentro un'estetica un po' dell'effimero, non delle cose. Il rischio anche di creare una società dell'intrattenimento che sia sempre solo levigata, senza aver profondità, grandezza, una verticalità, uno sguardo. Ecco, essere guidati da un algoritmo che gioca sulla nostra percezione del mondo e sulla relazione con l'altro, da un alias che ci guida da fuori e dentro la realtà, colonizzando parti del nostro corpo fino a comprenderlo e a renderlo, diciamo, efficiente per una performance, digitale. Ecco, il rischio ancora, e questi sono i rischi, poi vengo anche ai benefici, di disporre di una realtà digitale e di una idea di comunità prêt-à-porter, qualcosa che a comando, on demand, credo che non sia capace di illuminare il mondo, no? Cioè, credo che lo renda disponibile, no? Ma interviene sempre nel quotidiano con una sorta di promessa, un'utopia digitale senza grandi responsabilità. Infine è una realtà che è una versione commerciale della nostra vita, forse più una prigione. Quindi in sintesi, l'incapacità di distribuire l'alterazione della realtà, un mercato web che è pensato come un unico regolatore sociale, il pianeta che continua ad essere considerato come un vincolo per diciamo una versione di un pianeta aumentato. Ecco. Noi abbiamo il dovere di tessere questa speranza, di intrecciare, diciamo, tutti i nostri destini e prendere parola collettiva. Lo dobbiamo fare dando accesso e un account e una password alla vita stessa delle persone, a tanti e tante diciamo, persone che pensano che sia necessario definire anche una ontologia del metaverso. Dobbiamo approfondire necessariamente cosa può diventare un discorso sull'essere e sull'essere digitalizzati oggi. Un'ontologia, un discorso sull'essere che porta una sorta di intrattudicibilità tra le forme, no? Noi agiamo spesso con questa dinamica dualista, male, bene, digitale, non digitale, anima, corpo umano e tecnoscienza. Dobbiamo cercare di superarla. Io credo che proprio dalla digitalizzazione possono venire delle esperienze interessanti, mettendo sempre al centro, Carla diceva prima, l'uomo, la persona, in senso analogico. Questo terreno è terribilmente urgente, e se consideriamo poi quante e quali siano le gravi responsabilità dell'attuale modello di sviluppo, io credo che il metaverso possiamo darne un senso e un nome nella speranza che questa utopia digitale si sviluppi attorno a almeno quattro assi. Il rapporto con il bios, con un nuovo rapporto con la natura, il rapporto con le domande di che cosa vogliamo diventare, cosa vogliamo essere nella vita, quali sono le nuove architetture sociali digitali che abbiamo voglia di creare assieme, come possiamo operare un protagonismo politico all'interno del metaverso. E forse nel metaverso potremo portare anche la parte migliore di noi, quella che vuole appunto rivedere la sua relazione con la natura, con la creazione di un ecosistema che sia fisico e digitale allo stesso tempo, e dove tutti i cittadini e le cittadine possono scambiarsi informazioni in modo dinamico, ma anche nella realtà, nella verità, nella libertà di un cambiamento culturale. Certo che il terzo settore ha sicuramente la prima missione, quella di dare risposte reali nel mondo di qui, e dobbiamo riempirlo quel vuoto tra chi è continuamente offline e di chi invece è continuamente online, ma forse in questo terreno di mezzo, in questa diciamo area grigia, no? Tutti col nostro microcosmo in tasca, col nostro cellulare, con una connessione, può esistere una terra di mezzo che qualcuno ha definito on life, cioè una dimensione vitale, relazionale, sociale, comunicativa, anche lavorativa ed economica. Ecco, io ho anche fiducia appunto che questa digitalizzazione sia già in corso, e questo metaverso etico e solidale lo stiamo costruendo anche qui oggi, stando assieme.
Massimo, I think that from your point of view, local authorities are very close to the third sector feelings, the need to be aware that this equality could be a great risk, and I would say that from what we said in Daejeon with the UCLG Congress, the Pact for the Future, we are dealing with people, planet, government. Those are the big pillars we need to work also for the metaverse. And using the 2030 agenda could be maybe the right way to deal with this new world. Let's now think about Local for Action Hub. I want to ask my friend Dirshi, you have a very advanced hub for SDGs. And so you are innovative because you are producing education, learning on sustainability for the young generation. So you are so innovative at this point. Do you fear some risk with this digital innovation, or do you feel that this technology can involve much more young generation in your path, in your process for the 2030 agenda achievement? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla, for the invitation. And I believe this is the third time we participate in Venice City Solution, and we really enjoy the activities quite a lot. So congratulations to the hard work for the years. Xi'an Local for Action Hub is the youth-oriented interactive platform based on education and cross-cultural exchange with the goal of promoting understanding of sustainable development among the youth and their active participations in it. The hub facilitates dialogue and exchanges on sustainable development among youth from different cultural backgrounds through developing courses, organizing youth leadership training and seminars. We cooperate with University Alliance and other channels to form a consensus about sustainable development among the youth. Undoubtedly, digitalization is instrumental in promoting youth education and intercultural communication. First, digitalization enhances the reach of education and training, allowing high-quality education to cross regional and time barriers and make high-quality educational resources available. Second, super digital technologies such as the metaverse can empower innovation in digital culture production. For example, rich cultural content can be projected into emerging technologies such as VR, AR, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. And characteristic cultural sense can be introduced into emerging technologies such as extended reality, digital twin, and diverse culture resources can be integrated into emerging technologies such as virtual reality, mixed reality, and human-computer interaction. And actually, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, under the framework of Xi'an Local for Action Hub and the UCLG Aspect Tourism Committee, we will hold a program named Embracing the Future, Culture and Tourism Innovation Development Enhanced Program for Youth. One of the lectures is immersive experience, the integration and innovation of tourism industry and metaverse. If you are interested, welcome to join us. But however, new technology or digital technology such as metaverse are still under initial exploration or development. Spaces and technologies involving youth education would require thorough ethical evaluation, legal regulation, and quality supervision. Actually, young people are the most active and easily influenced group. So digital technologies in the field of education must be carefully carried out with accountability and ownership. Thank you very much.
So much, I think that also having your point of view, that you that are embracing the future is inspiring for us to develop any kind of advantage that can come from this new world in the metaverse, and we will join for sure your event. Thank you so much. Then let's move to the private sector, to Diego Madinelli. Obviously, from what we know, basically, right now, the metaverse seems to be purely a commercial opportunity to increase profit, to increase the sales. But from your point of view, you are very connected to the SDGs, the Agenda 2030. From your point of view, which are the risks and what are the benefits of embracing, empowering this new metaverse? Grazie Diego, the floor is yours.
Beh, innanzitutto buongiorno a tutti, grazie per l'invito. Allora, diciamo che noi siamo una società che si occupa di comunicazione e diciamo di strategie di marketing, quindi dovevamo per forza cercare di capire questa nuova, diciamo, frontiera e devo dire che è ancora una frontiera abbastanza sconosciuta, nel senso che sì, si conosce la tecnologia, si possono creare degli spazi, però c'è ancora da capire molto bene quale sarà la strategia, perché pensare di approcciare il metaverso, soprattutto nell'ambito delle aziende private, senza una strategia non serve praticamente a nessuno. Per le aziende private, ma non solamente, insomma, in occasione purtroppo della pandemia, la digitalizzazione è stata una grande opportunità, perché ci ha permesso di tenerci in contatto, ma non solo con i nostri clienti, anche tra di noi. Mi ricordo la prima riunione dopo che in Italia chiusero tutto, facemmo una riunione allargata tra di noi e continuammo a sperare di lavorare, e ci siamo anche riusciti utilizzando anche le tecnologie digitali. Il metaverso, come dicevo, è ancora un ambito tutto da definire, e mi è piaciuta la definizione, l'auspicio della signora che ha parlato prima quando ha citato il metaverso equo. Ecco, deve per forza essere un metaverso equo. Io sto vedendo molti progetti adesso di aziende che dicono ok, siamo presenti sul metaverso. Ok, sono presenti sul metaverso, ma con quale strategia, con quale volontà di coinvolgere i propri clienti e magari anche i propri dipendenti? Cioè, secondo il nostro parere, il metaverso ha un senso se è legato a una strategia ben precisa, altrimenti, scusate, ci possono poi possono nascere dei pericoli, che sono quelli che diventi un social network qualsiasi. Invece non è così, perché può avere delle applicazioni incredibili. Pensiamo solamente al fatto che può permettere, per esempio, alle persone di entrare in un negozio virtuale, conoscere i prodotti, trovare qualcuno che gli spieghi i prodotti, poter acquistare il prodotto pur magari rimanendo tranquillamente a casa. Però non basta questo, cioè il metaverso deve essere una trade union tra il mondo virtuale e poi quello che sarà il mondo reale. Io posso, ben venga, a conoscere, diciamo, le opere d'arte delle città del mondo, o magari le opere d'arte anche della mia città o delle nostre città, attraverso il metaverso, attraverso delle visite virtuali. Però non dobbiamo abbandonare l'emozione di guardare un'opera d'arte in presenza. Cioè il metaverso deve essere un sistema che incentiva ad apprezzare meglio la vita e viverla meglio, organizzare meglio le nostre città, organizzare meglio le nostre aziende, creare delle relazioni che poi però devono essere trasferite nel mondo reale. Ecco, questa è la mia opinione. Grazie.
I think that you explained very well from the private sector point of view that even if it's a very useful tool, we need to have fix our priorities, our targets. Otherwise, we can be lost in this virtual world. So thank you for this first round. I would like to ask you, as a second question to all of you, something regarding the SDGs. I would like to know what can be, from your point of view, from your experience, the role of the SDGs in this path through and to the metaverse. Do you feel that they can be useful as a roadmap? I will ask you to reply in a couple of minutes, not to be too long, just to have this second round of table. Starting from the mayor. Belinda, do you think that designing this new virtual city, you will need the SDGs as they are useful in the real world right now? Belinda.
Sì, grazie. Sì, assolutamente gli SDGs sono fondamentali sia oggi sia in questa fase di ulteriore transizione. E questo perché? Perché noi amministratori abbiamo anche la necessità di alzare lo sguardo e tenerlo alto al di là e oltre a quelli che sono i problemi quotidiani a cui ci costringono, per modo di dire, a guardare i nostri cittadini. Perché abbiamo bisogno di volare alto, di guardare ai grandi obiettivi, ma sappiamo che nelle nostre amministrazioni, soprattutto nei comuni più piccoli, quello che ci chiedono i cittadini sono aspetti più pragmatici e prosaici, non meno importanti come la mensa scolastica o l'illuminazione pubblica o delle strade ben asfaltate. Questo è quello che di solito i cittadini ci sollecitano a fare e il rischio per noi amministratori è di concentrarci solo su queste cose importanti ma non sufficienti, mentre sapere che c'è una Agenda 2030 a cui siamo chiamati è importante per coniugare il pragmatismo dell'amministratore a una visione alta a cui ci dobbiamo ricollegare. E questo è importante anche nella fase di diciamo transizione verso il mondo più innovativo e più moderno, perché un altro tema a cui noi dobbiamo fare fronte è che citavo prima il fatto che ho cominciato a lavorare con i fax e adesso arrivo agli smartphone. Cito anche il fatto che noi siamo approdati sui social network come Facebook, come Instagram e poi abbiamo studiato come fare a starci dentro, rendendoci conto che starci dentro non era così facile, così semplice come poteva apparire. Ecco, diciamo che quindi avere delle linee guida e dei punti di riferimento a cui ricondursi sempre non è affatto banale e non è affatto di secondaria importanza. È sempre un faro perché ti aiuta anche a guardare a 360 gradi tutte le sfaccettature di un problema o di un tema, perché anche questo spesso non si riesce a fare nella impellenza della quotidianità, no? Tenere presente che un'azione può raggiungere un obiettivo positivo, ma nel contempo andare contro a un altro aspetto. Per cui anche in questo senso avere una mappa è di fondamentale importanza, soprattutto in questi mondi che sono per certi versi interessanti, integranti, di cui vedi le opportunità, ma appunto essendo nuovi non hai ancora finito di indagare le complessità e le possibili problematicità.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that the holistic approach of the 2030 agenda was something was innovative, and now that we have learned from this kind of methodology, we should keep going and keeping the agenda as our methodology process for the future. Thank you so much. Let's go then to the third sector, NGOs, Massimo Renno. I think that through the Agenda 2030, the third sector became aware of the need of dialogue with the other sectors of our community, our society. And at the beginning, it wasn't an easy process because every stakeholder had his own point of view, and they were not sharing an integrated approach as the agenda requires. So from your point of view, are the SDGs needed for the future, and what you have learned from the past can be used for the future? Massimo, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Sì, allora grazie. Certamente dovremo far diventare il metaverso non solo l'agenda con i 17 obiettivi, ma anche un bene comune, non un termine solo di nuove utopie digitali o oasi per super ricchi, ma anche capaci di buon senso. Per fare questo credo che abbiamo bisogno di mettere in campo come terzo settore 3 atteggiamenti, che sono quello di ascoltare, di guardare, di entrare in relazione, a iniziare proprio dai nostri territori. Gli SDGs hanno segnato sicuramente la nostra esperienza in città, una città che, come ci ha insegnato Greta, è spesso una città di tanti bla bla bla, o città infernali dalle quali scappiamo per evanescenza dei servizi, per mancanza di spazi. Una città con micro diritti, micro doveri e anche micro cittadini. Quindi credo che dobbiamo porci anche delle domande giuste, le domande che gli stimoli che l'agenda ci pone sono chiare, no? Che cos'è che non è più abitabile nella nostra vita e nel mondo, no, reale, per prendere questa realtà parallela e farla diventare una nuova realtà? E quindi gli SDGs ci interrogano sicuramente sulla necessità di creare un'arca di senso, un'arca di scopo, un'arca di progetto, e ci dicono anche che il cambiamento è una funzione delle caratteristiche delle persone e dell'ambiente. Ecco, qualsiasi ambiente, compreso quello digitale, è in grado di poter influire sui soggetti locali che possono già agire il cambiamento. Le interazioni di piccola scala che possiamo realizzare in ognuno di questi obiettivi possono creare dei microsistemi che possono entrare in relazione con macrosistemi ed esosistemi, anche con capacità di rappresentarli in senso giuridico. Ecco, quindi l'attuale domanda di urbs, di polis, di civitas e di agorà che viene, no, dalle città e dalle tante città invisibili può idealmente essere collegata digitalmente in una rete globale, e partendo da queste relazioni analogico-digitali pensare di offrirci e di offrire in qualche modo anche il cambiamento come un posizionamento importante per chi vorrà operare in un metaverso equo e solidale.
Of the process, the change to achieve common goods, common targets is the vision that we are sharing between all the stakeholders that are representing here in this debate a different point of view. So thank you so much. And then let's move to our Local for Action Hub. From your point of view, do you think that we will need a Local for Action Hub in the virtual world? Do you think that we will use it, these hubs, in a different way? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a very interesting questions. Let's imagine Xi'an Local Function Hub in the metaverse, ignoring the technical barriers for now. So when you enter this hub, I think maybe the system may first ask you a series of questions, such as the purpose of your visit, like learning, exchange, or practical training, etc. And then immersive experience program will be built based on your personal information and needs. It could be a city case study for SDG or a virtual friend from a different cultural background to show you the customers or the history of a total different country. Or maybe it's just a hand-on training in a sustainable development project. A virtual local function hub, I think, would have huge potential for development and a bigger impact. Virtual reality allows participants to experience the services provided by the system efficiently, anytime, anywhere, to provide an immersive experience that best suits people's needs. It can bridge cultural differences and promote mutual understanding in an empathetic way. Back to SDGs, I think also SDGs are important in the process of human development at this stage, because we expect them to be achieved by 2030. To design the metaverse from the perspective of implementing and accelerating the achievement of SDGs is a way and idea we can try, because the goal is a consensus formed by the human society at present and cover most aspects of human social development. The current focus on the local function hub in Xi'an is education and culture, and I believe that the virtual hub will remain true to that goal. Moreover, since the education and the culture can cover such a wide range of issues, our focus could extend the entire range of SDGs. Thank you so much.
As local for action hubs, we are all happy to hear this visionary idea of yours, because it means that we are going to have the local for action hubs not only in the real world but also in the metaverse. So we have a lot of things and a lot of work to do. Thank you so much. And then the floor is for Diego. Diego, the private sector, through the SDGs, made a big implementation of their strategies, renewable energies, solutions for eco-terrestrial, safe ecosystem, and so on. You are faster than the public world. But in the metaverse, do you think that what you have achieved with the SDGs as a private sector will be worthwhile? You will continue to work on the SDGs also in the metaverse? Thank you.
Allora, diciamo che sì, il settore privato ha fatto, cioè almeno quando noi parliamo con le nostre aziende, eccetera, abbiamo il piacere di sentire che ci sono tantissime iniziative di energia provenienti da fonti rinnovabili, sostenibilità, nel senso attenzione anche ai dipendenti, attenzione alle organizzazioni, eccetera. Però molto spesso sono azioni virtuose che sono assolutamente apprezzabili, ma fatte da quell'azienda. Ci sono aziende fantastiche che fanno delle cose bellissime, però le fanno loro, insomma. In qualche modo non riescono a rendere protagonisti i propri clienti di queste azioni. Secondo me il passaggio che deve fare il settore privato è proprio questo: cercare di coinvolgere anche i propri clienti e dare l'opportunità anche a loro di fare delle azioni virtuose, seppur magari, voglio dire, in un ambito virtuale, però educarli a questo. Ecco, la funzione del metaverso nel privato, secondo me, deve avere anche questo scopo, cioè coinvolgere il cliente finale, il mio referente, educandolo in un certo modo. Avrete sentito adesso molte pubblicità, no? Anche di una casa petrolifera che dicono noi vendiamo carburanti, però vi diciamo usate anche degli altri mezzi per circolare, non è necessario. Ecco, c'è comunque un'attenzione anche da parte, per esempio, delle case automobilistiche. Chiaro che il loro business è vendere auto, però dall'altra parte cercano anche di far cambiare un po' anche la mentalità. ai propri clienti. Ecco, il metaverso, secondo me, dovrebbe essere proprio la chiave per riuscire a far questo. Noi abbiamo la fortuna di avere un partner tecnico che ha creduto in noi, abbiamo uno spazio molto grande sul metaverso che vorremmo anche mettere a disposizione dei nostri clienti per fare insieme, quando si diceva prima, costruire, no? Un metaverso equo, assieme ai nostri clienti, magari creare dei progetti. Potrebbe anche essere il prossimo Venice, che lo faremo sul metaverso, magari una parte, perché no?
Thank you, Diego.
Grazie.
That's also an inspiring and a dream that maybe can come true very soon. So before thanking you all, because it was a very tough session on difficult questions, I would like to have from all of you one word, one desire that you can have for the metaverse, your metaverse. Which kind of adjective you will use to say what you would like to find there with one or maximum 2 words. So starting from the mayor.
Caspita, una parola sola è difficile, però quello che mi piacerebbe avere dal metaverso è lo strumento per risolvere le nuove sfide che sono emerse. Adesso non la voglio fare lunga, però dopo il Covid e dopo la guerra in Ucraina, la società che mi trovo davanti è diversa e in particolare le fasce più giovani hanno dei problemi nuovi ed evidenti, per cui la parola che vorrei trovare e che non trovo è quella che mi dà nel metaverso, trovo una nuova fiducia e un nuovo partner con cui lavorare.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your participation, Belinda, to our session. Massimo, your word for the metaverse.
Io sogno un visore di quelli che stanno progettando che sia contro l'indifferenza. Mi piacerebbe avere anche un token che dia accesso a una vita, a un'idea di bene comune, digitale anche, e vorrei una password che accenda la mia coscienza innanzitutto e la coscienza degli altri e che ci dica che in fondo siamo circondati da 200 miliardi di stelle e che siamo all'interno di una periferia che è una bella nebulosa, no? Che potremmo chiamare casa, che stiamo ruotando in questo momento a 1600 km orari e che stiamo orbitando attorno al Sole con i nostri fratelli pianeti. E, insomma, abbiamo bisogno sicuramente di mondi nuovi, però come ne abbiamo già uno ed è molto difficile, diciamo, proteggerlo in questo momento, ecco, occupiamoci anche di questo.
Thank you very much. And what about you, Shi, about the Local for Action Hub? One word, one desire.
I believe I think culture is very important, and I believe culture is the sum of the material and the spiritual wealth created and summarized and accumulated by the human during their social and historical development. Without culture, without cultural heritage, human beings are of no difference from animals, actually. So whether in the real world or in the virtual world, culture should be given ample importance. I think culture is very important.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Diego, your word.
Ma allora io vorrei riuscire diciamo, a trovare nel metaverso delle emozioni e che il metaverso risvegliasse anche degli entusiasmi, per cui quando magari lascio il mio avatar, riposare, quando torno in me stesso, poi trasferire questi entusiasmi e queste emozioni anche nel mondo poi, non dico reale, ma nel mondo parallelo, insomma, ecco. Quindi questo vorrei fosse un metaverso di ispirazione.
I want to thank you all for also these inspirational words, because we are going to build our recommendation. And so I think that the sense of trust, the fight to indifference, the culture, the sense of heritage that we bring, and the emotions, the fact that we are human beings, must be kept as a priority in our virtual world. And now, to conclude this session, I know from the floor we have also another special presence that I would like to hear on this. We have Mr. Azli Miswan, Director of Corporate and Strategic Management, Subang Jaya City in Malaysia. It's a pleasure for us to listen also from you, from your Local for Action Hub. What's your idea after what you heard about this different point of view on this new virtual reality, and how you think your hub can fit in this new world? Thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Okay, good evening. Hi. Hello, hi. My name is Muhammad Azli from Subanjaya Municipal Council, Malaysia. I think the recent news that you guys know that we already have a new Prime Minister this couple of days. And then it's going to spearhead a lot of things in Malaysia, especially. Just to recap on what is Subanjaya City is all about. We are one of the leading local council in Malaysia at this moment. We are considered one of the 5-star local council, and total of local council in Malaysia is around 151 local authority. Based on the session that I heard and joined at the beginning, I noticed there's a lot of new ideas coming in, and I believe strongly that Subanjaya Municipal Council can also adapt few strategies that other cities is doing now. And just to inform you regarding what we are doing now, for example, we are using a lot of SDG initiative to enhance our program and activities. And based on a few months that we already using this SDG, we are also taking advantage in terms of bringing our city into a digital economy blueprints. And just to inform you guys that I believe that SDG is a way forward of doing things. And with a base and a strong digital and also technologies that already have existing in the world, I can assure you that Subanjaya will be also a leading city using all the SDGs methods, all the SDG strategies in upholding the trust from the people. Because as a government agencies, we need to enhance our services. We need to put a very high standard into to bringing all the services to the residents.
Thank you very much. You said many important things. Of course, we feel that your Local for Action Hub, as many realities that we heard today, are already ready to join the metaverse, to live this new world. But at the same time, what we need to keep in mind is the social pact, the trust with the citizens, the trust that we need to build, to reinforce our relationship with the institutions, with all the stakeholders that are joining us with the 2030 agenda. And I feel that keeping these at the core of our planning, it's important, as you said. I will ask you, as I did for the previous speakers, what's your dream about the metaverse? Regarding your Local for Action Hub, or your vision about the future? What would you like the metaverse to be from your point of view?
Okay, two things. First, we need to realign back our strategies in terms of developing the cities. For example, in Subanjaya, we already taking a lot of steps in changing our city strategic plans. We are emphasis more on social activities. At this moment, every week, every month, we have a lot of activities for the communities, because we need the participants, the residents to participate in all our program. They need to know our vision. They need to know what we are doing. And then is it we are fulfilling the needs of all the ratepayers? And to do that, we also need some financial support from the residents, from all the agencies, private sectors, and so on. But nevertheless, we are changing the way of doing things. We are changing our city plans. We are engaging with a lot of residents, what they want to be, what they have to be a part of the city planning. If, for example, we want to enhance or we want to develop a park, what do they need there? And then what can we do there? Is it it's just a project, or maybe can do better than that? So for after the COVID, for example, we are struggling to change the mindset of the residents. We are struggling to involve a lot of things with the residents. And the good thing is this is what they want. And from there, we keep on changing. We keep on have discussions, meetings with them. And I believe that with this, all the engagement that we have with them, it can help to boost up Subanjaya city to be a modern city, a knowledgeable city. That's why we also dream. We want to make Subanjaya a green city, smart city. Everything that has been mentioned is SDG. We want to implement it. And I believe it can be a reality.
Thank you very much. I think this is the right way we can wrap up this session. Because I think that starting dealing with this issue is very important. Cities, local for action hub, private sector, NGOs are ready to talk about this. These are still existing words, but we need to become protagonists, as we said at the beginning, to co-create this new space, because only if the cities are on board and are taking part of this huge planning, we can provide the fact that the 2030 agenda and the SDGs will be our roadmap. And then we will flip the script, changing the negative storytelling, the problems that we have in the real world, and flipping in a positive ones that we want to achieve also in the virtual world. So thank you everyone for joining us this session, but stay tuned because in a few minutes there will be another important session and you will learn to flip the script with us. Thank you so much.
Hello, welcome to the blue session creating trust, communicating SDG local action through the Flip the Script.
Sorry, I wanted to ask for the participation certificate.
So we're starting this blue session, the last one of the day, before we move into a more like a creative exercise, Flip the Script workshop, and we're gonna have Xavi Longan presenting at the beginning a bit of the Flip the Script campaign as a tool for communication, and also the scope of what it has already achieved.
So over to Xavi.
So yeah, over to you, Xavi.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Mireia and colleagues, and welcome everyone to this session. As Mireia was saying, and as you know from the program, this session focuses on the Flip the Script campaign, on how we've leveraged this campaign and this concept to work together with UCLG. As Mireia said, my name is Xavi Longan. I'm the lead for partnerships and operations at the UN SDG Action Campaign. And I would like to kick off this discussion, this session also, with just some thoughts of how this concept of Flip the Script came to be and what it focuses on. And then I'll try to be very brief, because really what we want to show you and what we want to discuss with you is really how we transform this concept into tools and assets for campaigning at local level, for communicating action at local level, and for taking action at local level. We've worked very hard with UCLG and with the members of UCLG, many of which are on this session today and in this event, to precisely to generate as much impact as possible from the local level to then take it to the global level. So, as I said, in terms of Flip the Script, of this idea of flipping the script, of why flipping the script, this is born from the idea, the realization, partly through COVID, through the COVID pandemic, that change is possible, and we saw that through the pandemic. Change is possible. Change can happen very quickly if there is the will, if there is the collective action also needed for this change to happen. So transformation is possible, but when we act collectively and also when we are bold. And this is the idea, this is the idea behind the call to action on Flip the Script. So we're calling on everyone to be bold, to take action individually that can then have a global impact, to take action at local level, to then have a strong impact at a global level. And this is the main, as I said, the main idea, the main concept behind the Flip the Script campaign, is the idea that we can turn fear into hope, that we can turn apathy into action, that we can turn division into togetherness. And how do we do that? We do that through a journey of advocacy and a journey of action. A journey of advocacy means rethinking, recalibrating, and reimagining our societies and our economies. And a journey of action means generating behavioral change at all levels, again, starting with local and having a global transformation. So really transforming the way in which we do things to implement change. And then in terms of the goals of this overall concept, of this overall campaign, there are three main goals. One is to inspire individuals, communities, and institutions to take action and shift behavior, as I was saying. The second one is increasing ownership visibility and engagement around the SDGs at all levels. And the third one is to scale up the engagement and the inclusion of underrepresented grassroots perspectives with the aim of deepening participation, ownership, and trust in SDG processes. So again, the idea of flipping the script is the idea of being bold to take action, to generate a conversation at global level that can help all of us to better communicate messages from local governments and regional governments at other levels, and to help also local and regional governments to take action. And this is precisely what we want to show. This was the goal of the collaboration between the UN SDG Action Campaign and UCLG, starting this year with the Flip the Script campaign. It's, of course, a partnership that dates back to many, many years ago, but this year, UCLG, the campaign with other partners, we focused on this Flip the Script campaign. And we want to show particularly three tracks of this campaign, of this effort. I'll start with the first one, which is the Global Week to Act for SDGs, and then I'll turn to Mireia to cover the other two, and then to open up the floor for perspectives from cities and then from other participants. So as I was saying, on the mobilization front, this year we've worked together with UCLG and many other partners to convene this annual Global Week to Act for the SDGs. It's an annual mobilization around the UN General Assembly in New York. This year it took place from the 16th of September to the 25th of September. And as you can see this year, through this global mobilization, we generated 142 million actions from over 190 countries. So it's a true global mobilization with engagement from local governments, but also from civil society, from academia, from youth groups, from private sector, from the creative sector. So it's really a broad global mobilization. Again, under the banner of Flip the Script, showing that we can take action together, that we can take collective action, and really helping in a way to build a momentum towards the mid-year mark to the SDGs and to the SDG Summit next year. We mobilized, as I said, together with a wide range of partners, governmental and non-governmental. And this is an annual mobilization that next year we want to particularly convene around the SDG Summit. This type of mobilization should help us really to build a momentum, again, to generate a global conversation starting from the local, generate a global conversation on what's next for the SDGs and how we accelerate action towards the second half in the SDG timeframe. So I'll stop here and I'll turn over to Mireia to cover some of the other tracks under Flip the Script that we've been working together with UCLG and with the membership. Over to you, Mireia.
Thank you, Xavi. So it's a pleasure to be here representing United Cities and local governments at this 5th edition of Venice City Solutions. As Diana mentioned earlier, Venice City Solutions is a global laboratory on sustainable development goals, and it's a very important space of dialogue and also of inspiration to continue working for the achievement of the global goals, especially in next year's midpoint evaluation. So welcome all of you, all the participants that are joining us online, and to this, as Xavi has introduced, to this session where we're going to be talking about trust and communication tools. So I will be presenting a few of the milestones of the partnership that with UN SDG Action Campaign and these two tracks that Xavi was mentioning. So I wanted just to reflect a bit on that we live in this information age, right? That we have never had so many stimuli, the flow of information has increased and we're so connected. And sometimes it is too much information. So it is more important than ever that we learn how to innovate, to communicate better on the work that local and regional governments are doing, and also not only to communicate it, but also to advocate and to inspire more action, because it's truly an important moment, and it's we're in a decade of action. So the Flip the Script campaign, it's really just that. It's a way to, as Xavi was mentioning, to innovate, to increase visibility, to scale up action, and to inspire others. And we have a very committed constituency at UCLG. Local and regional governments have been working for years to localize the SDGs, and it's important to innovatively communicate on what they are already doing and have been doing. So I also wanted to pinpoint and to highlight that so UCLG has already been working to communicate innovatively on what local and regional governments are doing through the platform, through the Local for Action hubs. And we have the pleasure to count on many here today. So the Flip the Script campaign is a tool that further amplifies the Local for Action hubs, which is already has a long a legacy in itself, and it's also many things. It's an initiative that provides visibility to the work of local and regional governments. It's also a compromise with public service provision. It's a platform for acceleration of the global goals, and it's also a network of inspiration. So, as I said, the Flip the Script contributes to already this legacy and this work of the Local for Action hubs, and continues this important work of communicating better, so that really local and regional governments are counted and have a place at all the decision-making tables to inspire and further accelerate action. So during the UCLG retreat, we met and we created this space of, through these workshops, we created a space of co-creation with the UN SDG Action Campaign, and we began this work of building messages that could, as Xavi was mentioning, turn fear into apathy into action, for instance. So we focused on three axes or three themes. The first was how are local and regional governments flipping the script to address inequalities, partly really inspired by the work of the Goal team and the Goal 6 reports, on how local and regional governments are flipping the script for ecological transition, and also on how to inspire more trust in government. So if we could go to the next slide, this co-creation work that we did physically at the UCLG retreat and also online, these videos that you see on screen is part of the product that came out, and this is the one to address inequalities. You can find it on our channel. The next slide will see the video that focuses on ecological transition, and on the next slide we'll see the third one, which which aims to really inspire trust in government by showing the actions that they're doing to localize SDGs. And I'd like, colleagues, if we could show the third video, which shows really, it's a concrete example of the Flip the Script campaign, and we're very proud and happy that it has had such a large audience. Yeah, thank you.
We take a look back at that period. Lessons have been learned, but perhaps in some cases there is still more to do. Our reporters this week are Julia and Shahida.
Tunis are a battleground, a battle that is pitting riot police armed mostly with tear gas against protesters. Thousands of people for hours were demanding in no uncertain terms that President Ben Ali and his wife and his entire entourage.
We take a look back at that period. Lessons have been learned, but perhaps in some cases there is still more to do. Our reporters this week are Julia and Shahida.
So yeah, this is again, as I was saying, a concrete example of the Flip the Script campaign and our partnership with the UN SDG Action Campaign. I also wanted to show how we took these concrete examples of these communication products to different spaces throughout the year. We show it during the high-level political forum at the United Nations as a tool to advocate for the work of local and regional governments. We also, during the 7th World Congress and Summit in Daejeon, together with Diana and the colleagues, we built a SDG exhibition space where we showcased all this work in an inspiring way for all the participants to also innovate and join us in flipping the script. And finally, the last track that I wanted to share with you is the SDG Local Tales, which is a very new exercise in communicating the work that you are doing, and we've been working with 6 cities, with Bilbao, with Brooklyn, with Cuenca, Nouakchott, Pasig, and Xi'an, and we're very happy of the work that is advancing and is ongoing to really show that they are localizing these SDGs in very innovative ways that should be considered and that can inspire more action. So we are very happy to count with the participation of Brooklyn and Cuenca today. We're going to be hearing from Mon Yu, Policy Director at Brooklyn Borough, New York, and also from Maria Isabel Duran, responsible for the Cuenca Local for Action Hub. I would like, without further ado, to give the floor to Mon. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And I was curious whether or not the presentation could also be up on the screen as well. So thank you, everyone, and good afternoon on your end. Good morning from my end here in Brooklyn. My name is Mon Yu. I am the Director of Policy with the Office of the Brooklyn Borough President. And it's really my pleasure to be here today to share a lot of the work that our office has been doing around maternal health and maternal health initiatives that we've been launching over the past couple of months since our Brooklyn Borough President took office in January. Next slide. So one of the Brooklyn Borough President's greatest priorities right now is in addressing maternal health in Brooklyn and making it the safest place to give birth. The Borough President is a father himself, and having witnessed the successful birth of his 2 children while experiencing the anxiety of the reality of pregnancy complications among Black and Latinx mothers, he really decided to fully invest his policy priorities in this work. So what kind of data are we actually looking at right now? According to the New York City Department of Health data between 2016 and 2018, Brooklyn is the borough with the highest number of pregnancy-associated deaths, with over a third of deaths originating from this borough. And that's a very stark reality that we have to deal with here in New York City. And that is also one of the reasons why the borough president has committed to investing fully in ensuring that, again, Brooklyn is the safest place to give birth. Next slide. And what we're also seeing across the entire city is that Black mothers are 9.4 times more likely to die from childbirth than white mothers. And based on data that we've seen between 2001 and 2018, we have seen that this disparity has occurred over the course of many, many years. Contributing to these disparities is that communities of color in our city face differential access to power and resources, such as generational wealth, access to healthy food, and access to parks and public spaces. But in addition to that, they're also facing the overexposure to harmful conditions like environmental damage, over-policing, and disproportionate incarceration. And together, these are factors that lead to chronic stress and disease among communities of color that drive health disparity and pregnancy-associated mortality across the entire city. And interestingly enough, what we've also seen is that Haitian women have the highest rates of severe maternal morbidity, with the rate of 494 deaths per 10,000 births compared to 494 cases of maternal morbidity per 10,000 births compared to 229.8 for US-born women. And the Haitian population is the second largest Black foreign-born population in the United States, but it faces unique barriers due to its history, its culture, and its language. It's been the subject of unique stigma and discrimination when AIDS was first diagnosed among Haitians in 1983 in the United States. And this has been further aggravated by political misrepresentation of Haiti as a country in our United States government. And until today, Black women, and especially Haitian women, continue to face some of the biggest barriers to healthcare and resource provision due to persistent social barriers and unaddressed social determinants of health. So how are we able to flip the script? Next slide. And there are many reasons, as I mentioned before, for why we are experiencing poor maternal health outcomes. And hence, the approach to making Brooklyn the safest place to give birth must be a holistic one. So what are we looking at and what must we deal with? We must be addressing maternal health from a policy and legislative standpoint. How can we dictate the investments that go into maternal health care? And how can we dictate the systematic barriers and change the way that policy drives conversations and drives the way that our community members experience health and wellness? Secondly, we must look at hospital infrastructure and staffing. What can we do from an investment standpoint to ensure that our hospitals have the adequate infrastructure within the communities that need it the most in order to ensure that our women are provided adequate care? And third, we must also be looking at our clinical workforce and ensure that it is representative of those that are most at risk. We need to provide education and awareness for the care team, not just for the clinical staff, but also for a team of support professionals like doulas, even acupuncturists or yoga therapists, yoga instructors. What can we do to ensure that our providers and the support network that our community members have are fully educated and aware of the issues that affect them. And similarly, we must be addressing education awareness for the patients to ensure that they are empowered with the rights and that they're empowered with the information to advocate for themselves and to build their support team as they think about how they can seek adequate maternal health care. And we must also be thinking about increasing access to social and economic support, increasing access to mental health care, and addressing social determinants of health that really lay the foundation for a lot of the barriers that we've seen. Next slide. And the Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso has done so much over the course of his time in office to really think about these barriers to care and what we can do together to ensure that we are providing the women in Brooklyn with the resources that they need to address hospital infrastructure, to address the policy barriers that have affected the way that they experience healthcare, and that we are increasing awareness and resources among this population. So some of the work that we've done to date includes putting together a maternal health task force that really is the guiding force around the work that we're doing. We have invested in infrastructure and supported legislation. And we've also invested in a maternal health awareness campaign and resources like our Born in Brooklyn baby boxes, which we've partnered with multiple organizations to provide women with the care and resources that they need. Next slide. So to start off, our office formalized a maternal health task force that has been tasked with setting the agenda for this office's maternal health priorities. Over the past few months, the task force has devised a number of projects, including our Born in Brooklyn baby box initiative, our maternal health education and awareness campaign, sponsoring legislation, and thinking through policies and legislation that could further the work around maternal health. The task force is representative of clinical professionals like nurses, midwives, administrators, OBGYNs, mental health advocates, health agencies, nonprofits, and most importantly, mothers. We're co-chaired by New York City's Health and Hospital Chief Women's Health Service Officer, Dr. Wendy Wilcox, and the New York City Health and Hospital's Woodhull Director of Midwifery Services, Helena Grants. And additional members of this task force includes former New York City Council member Una S.T. Clark, the Assistant Commissioner of Brooklyn Neighborhood Health at New York City Department of Health, Dr. Zahira Bignat, the Executive Director of Brooklyn Perinatal Network, Ngozi Moses, mental health advocate Christina Sparrock, Director of Nursing for Maternal Health at Kings County Hospital, Vera Apaya Agmeya, and Executive Director of Caribbean Women's Health Association, Cheryl Hull. And this is a task force that we intend to expand to incorporate additional professionals like representatives of academia, representatives of additional community-based organizations, and representatives of our community. Secondly, we've invested in really building on the infrastructure of our hospital systems. Next slide. This year, the borough president has made a historic investment of $45 million in capital allocations for maternal health infrastructure. This has included a $15.625 million investment to New York City Health and Hospital's Kings County Hospital. And the New York City Health and Hospital system is New York City's public hospital system. So we've invested $15.625 million to help renovate the facility's newborn intensive care units, or the NICU, and their mother baby units. We've also invested $18.5 million for the H&H facility, which is short for the Health and Hospitals, Coney Island facility for the Women's Health Department to make changes to the outpatient care center, labor and delivery rooms, and postpartum recovery, and the NICU. And finally, we've also invested $11 million for H&H's Woodhull Center to create a state-of-the-art birthing center. And that would be the first freestanding birthing center that exists in the borough of Brooklyn. And as a part of this commitment, our office is also actively working with hospital administrators to improve process, staffing, and administrative infrastructure to ensure that our maternal health programs can be as safe and accessible as possible. Next slide. Next slide. And third, we've also supported a historic maternal health package of bills that recently passed this year. Next slide. Bills that we have signed on to and supported includes a bill requiring our Department of Health to establish a doula pilot program to train doulas and provide professional no-cost doula service to residents of all 5 of New York City's boroughs. We've also supported legislation requiring the Department of Health to conduct education and outreach campaigns around the benefits and services offered by doulas and midwives. We've supported legislation to create a public health education campaign on the risk of cesarean sections, which we know create higher risk of maternal mortality and morbidity following pregnancy. Additionally, we've also supported resolutions that call on New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign legislation that make doulas more accessible to individuals with Medicaid and those without health insurance. We've also called on the governor to sign A5499 and S470, which are Assembly and Senate bills, to direct the Commissioner of Health to conduct a study and issue a report examining the unmet health and resource needs facing pregnant New Yorkers and the impact of limited service pregnancy centers. And finally, we've also called on the United States Congress to pass and the President to sign the Black Maternal Health Omnibus Act of 2021. And finally, we've also invested in education and awareness and resources for our community. This has included a historic investment allocation for a multilingual multimedia campaign where we're providing maternal health, public health education and awareness that consists of a resource webpage that sits on a website and video, social media, and other digital ads and bus shelter ads, brochure and brochure that really provides additional information about what a woman can do before, during, and after pregnancy. And the goal of this campaign is to bring public health awareness to the maternal mortality and morbidity disparities facing Black, Caribbean, and Latinx populations, and providing accessible resources in Spanish, Haitian Creole, French, and English to help create a pathway for seeking care. Next slide. And this is an example of the website that we had created as a result of this campaign. Next slide. And these are some examples of the public transportation ads and social media and digital campaigns and the resource guide that we created as well. This was launched in 9 of the targeted neighborhoods with the highest rates of maternal mortality. Next slide. And finally, our office has allocated $100,000 this year to an organization called Met Council to produce Born in Brooklyn boxes to support pregnant people and new parents, many who may not have resources to purchase essential baby supplies as they straddle between caring for their child and their own mental health. And for some, pregnancy and births means elongated, uncompensated maternity leaves as a result of complications resulting from childbirth. So these packages that come as diaper bags and include baby-friendly supplies that promote breastfeeding, like diapers, perinatal spray, baby wipes, nursing pads, nipple cream, diaper changing pads, postpartum pads, birthing cloths, and swaddles, and books, really help provide additional source of financial support and a source of mental health support for our parents. And this was actually a concept that we expanded on that was born in Finland as a concept to provide baby boxes to newborns and to families. So as a part of this initiative, 500 packages were distributed to H&H hospitals, CBOs, and facilities that included many of the organizations served on our represented on our current task force. Next slide. So what are we looking forward to as we really think about how we can holistically address maternal health in Brooklyn? One of the initiatives that our office is really looking forward to doing is increasing representation in the midwifery workforce. What can that look like? Potentially working with a local university to support scholarships for people of color to enter the midwifery field. Midwives are severely underrepresented in our current hospital systems, and especially midwives that look like the people who are experiencing the highest maternal health risks. We're also looking forward to exploring additional ways that we can provide resources to address short determinants of health, especially the socioeconomic factors that create barriers to care. We're looking forward to increasing awareness and education among patients and among the provider workforce. We've already started to do that through our maternal health awareness and education campaign, and we're looking forward to do more of this as well. And finally, we're looking forward to enhancing mental health resources among our communities, especially as we explore the effects of postpartum depression and mental health and perinatal mental health during the pregnancy process. So these are all factors that we're really looking for and to address, and we'll be addressing in partnership with many other organizations as well. Thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to sharing more about how we are flipping the script here in Brooklyn to make it the safest place to give birth.
Thank you so much, Mon. It was a very interesting presentation, and we don't normally have that kind of time to listen from cities, on detail, and of course, it's in the details when you understand really what initiative you're doing. When I first heard from you, I was very surprised that a mayor that has just arrived, when mayor is president of the borough, but I mean in our terms is a mayor, and the first priority that he designs is maternal health. And I thought it was wonderful because so many of our cities in the developing world have the same problem. And of course, they don't have the same resources that you have in Brooklyn. Brooklyn, I think, if you could be independent from New York, will be like the third city in America in terms of population. It's a big city in itself, so it's very nice to have like a young mayor that decides, he is a mayor, that decides that maternal health is a priority. And then, because probably you're not that familiar with Agenda 2030 as we are, but you cover all of them. So I was picking the SDGs that your project is addressing, and you start, of course, with good health, because at the end it's a question of health of the women, and then we have a target on maternal mortality specificalities, but it, of course, is the gender equality. So it's a 5, it's a gender issue, but it's based on the reducing inequalities. So the question, the problem is not the giving birth. The problem is the disparities that exist in between the population in one that is, it's a very diverse, but also a very rich city compared to other cities that we work for. Then you have raised also the question of quality of education of the mothers, of course, the question of poverty. and I'm just picking one, but it goes to the sustainable cities, of course, because everything does happen on the cities. And then you also mentioned the infrastructure, which is the 9. My question to you is, because of course you show how many millions you're investing in infrastructure, so it will be like the 9. But for our public today, we have a lot of African cities as well, cities in Asia. Maybe not because it's too late for them now, but they will probably see the recording. How much do you see, like, if you have infrastructure, but many of the cities, they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have that capacity to mobilize hospitals and to build them. How much does it play the communication part that you showed, that I thought it was amazing? And it will help so many cities in the world to be able to, communication is cheaper because it's not an infrastructure. It's still very difficult to do, but what will be your advice to other cities that don't have this kind of infrastructure resources to use the communication to prevent certain of these problems and to prevent certain of these deaths? So just a quick feedback from you.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons why we decided to really start our work here with the maternal health education and awareness campaign is because we understand that preventative health and education is so important to ensure that we are saving healthcare costs. As you mentioned, a lot of cities don't have the resources to invest in infrastructure, but there are ways that we can prevent them from having to go into a hospital, to prevent them from having to utilize healthcare services. And when we have a robust education campaign that really addresses things like nutrition, what do you eat during when you're preparing for pregnancy and during pregnancy, what kind of exercises do you do? What can you expect from a maternal health visit? What kind of care team do you want to establish, and what kind of support network can you establish even outside of the healthcare system? And when you start thinking about these other factors that contribute to your healthcare, I think that's a really incredible way to start and think about how we can build on not just the infrastructure of the healthcare system in general, but also the infrastructure of an individual's understanding of their own health and the way that they communicate this back into communities.
And now we're gonna have the opportunity to hear how Cuenca is flipping the script. We have Maria Isabel Duran with us. The floor is yours.
Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están? Buenos días con todos y con todas. Y bueno, buenas tardes también a los que se encuentran en una diferente zona horaria. Mi nombre es María Isabel Durán. Estoy representando a la ciudad de Cuenca, en Ecuador. Yo estoy a cargo de liderar el Local for Action Hub de la ciudad y es un placer para mí. Estamos muy agradecidos también de la oportunidad con Flip the Script de poder presentar las acciones que estamos haciendo en el trabajo de localización dentro de la ciudad. Para ponerles también un poco en contexto, Cuenca es una ciudad de Ecuador, la tercera más grande del país, con alrededor de 600,000 habitantes. Entonces, las acciones que voy a presentarles a continuación son una parte de lo que el gobierno local, la Municipalidad de Cuenca, está enfocada en hacer en orden para cumplir los objetivos de la Agenda 2030. Estamos muy comprometidos con esta agenda, la hemos empezado a anclar y a incluir dentro de todas nuestras políticas para poder ser un aporte fundamental dentro de los gobiernos locales que al momento tienen una gran relevancia dentro de toda la política internacional. Entonces, como lo hemos visto, es necesario ahora en estos 7 años que nos quedan antes del 2030, repensar, reimaginar, reinventar y sobre todo reexplicar a nuestra población qué son los ODS, cómo los podemos lograr y qué es la Agenda 2030, ¿no? La siguiente, por favor. Cuenca y la localización de los ODS. Bueno, Cuenca, el Local for Action Hub Cuenca, está enfocado en el aprendizaje. Cuenca se ha enfocado en este aprendizaje porque creemos que el primer paso para lograr una participación y una articulación completa de nuestra sociedad y de todos los actores involucrados en la misma es poder apropiarse de la agenda y de los ODS. La siguiente, por favor. ¿Cómo lo hacemos? Tenemos el proceso de sensibilización, de aprendizaje, de localización, que nos lleva a una articulación y a una participación. Los principales ODS que nosotros nos enfocamos en trabajar con nuestras acciones son el ODS número 11 y el ODS número 17. Es muy importante para nosotros todas la articulación que tenemos con el resto de actores, no solamente con las acciones que hacemos como gobierno local, sino es muy, muy importante cómo nos empezamos a comunicar y a desarrollar junto con otros actores dentro de la sociedad que son muy importantes para poder alcanzar estos objetivos de manera integral. La siguiente, por favor. Para tener un poco de contexto, la articulación y la planificación territorial de los ODS dentro de la corporación municipal. Existen al momento más de 300 proyectos del municipio y todas sus entidades adscritas que tienen ya una alineación con los ODS que se han localizado y están vinculados a un ODS y a una meta de los mismos. La articulación de los planes operativos anuales, que son la planificación anual con la que cuenta cada una de las direcciones del municipio, parte del análisis de los objetivos y las metas y los indicadores que están expuestos vinculados a la Agenda 2030 en el Plan de Desarrollo de la ciudad. La siguiente. Es por eso que nuestro objetivo es que todos los proyectos de la corporación municipal deben estar alineados a un ODS y a una meta de los ODS. Ahora me gustaría comentarles de nuestros dos proyectos principales con los que hemos venido trabajando esta sensibilización y este proyecto de aprendizaje. El primero es el curso virtual de la introducción a la localización de los ODS para nueva normalidad post-COVID. Este curso fue desarrollado en conjunto con la metodología de PNUD, de CGLU y de ONU Habitat para poder enseñar y poder sensibilizar a los participantes sobre la Agenda 2030, sobre los ODS y sobre todo cómo localizarlos dentro de su propia realidad. La siguiente, por favor. Entonces, ¿cuáles son los públicos objetivos a los que nos hemos enfocado y cuál es el objetivo de este curso? El objetivo es sensibilizar a funcionarios municipales, abarcando así el sector público, a miembros de ONGs, abarcando el tercer sector, trabajadores del sector empresarial, que es muy importante el sector privado, sobre la importancia de la localización de los ODS y fomentar las alianzas en la implementación de una nueva normalidad. Aquí también quisiera recalcar que trabajamos también con las universidades, siendo estas una fuente de investigación y de preparación para la juventud, quienes deben estar involucrados dentro de todas las acciones a realizar. Los objetivos específicos de este curso es promover la Agenda 2030 dentro de como marco de referencia para la nueva normalidad, incidir en el trabajo cotidiano de los funcionarios municipales, promover la alineación de los proyectos, tanto del municipio como del sector corporativo, fomentar el desarrollo de indicadores y provocar procesos de sensibilización ciudadana. Este curso está alojado dentro de una plataforma virtual, por lo que es muy importante resaltar que esto nos ha permitido tener un alcance amplio y una participación muy alta de cada uno de estos sectores. Al poder tener este acceso libre a la plataforma y de hecho poder llevarlo, vamos a ver más adelante cómo está constituido la metodología del curso, pero tener el acceso libre al momento que tengan disponibilidad en sus acciones diarias, en sus diferentes actividades, nos ha permitido que se pueda completar el curso y que se pueda llegar ya a tener realmente un nivel de conocimiento y de sensibilización sobre qué es la Agenda 2030 y cómo afecta diariamente a su realidad. Nos enfocamos mucho en poder resaltar que muchas veces lo vemos como una agenda global lejana a nuestra realidad y nos enfocamos y nuestro objetivo también principal es poder mostrar a la agenda como algo propio, como algo en lo que yo como un individuo, como un ciudadano, puedo aportar y cómo puedo yo vincularla y también compartirla con todos a mi alrededor. Como les comentaba, tenemos el público meta, que son los funcionarios municipales, miembros de ONGs, empresas y comercios y estudiantes universitarios. Con toda esta participación completa e integral, nos permite también abarcar no solamente al área que nos compete como municipio, sino también llegamos a otras áreas y a incidir en otros ODS y en otras metas que nos van a permitir tener un trabajo mucho más fuerte dentro de la Agenda 2030. Realmente Cuenca se ha enfocado en que este proceso sea un proceso participativo, tal y como lo es la agenda, para poder llegar a consensos y a partir de esos consensos poder trabajar en proyectos y en objetivos de la ciudad. La estructura del curso tiene 4 capítulos. La primera es una introducción a los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible, de dónde vienen, qué son los ODM y cómo de los ODM hemos aprendido y hemos llegado a los ODS. Actualmente tenemos sensibilización, incidencia y diálogo para la localización. Aquí ya empezamos a promover esta localización y hacerlo un poco más especializado dentro de cada una de las áreas que manejan estos grupos meta, localizando los ODS, alineando planes y proyectos de desarrollo locales. Este capítulo es muy importante porque ya empezamos a hacerlo realidad. Tenemos un taller práctico, tenemos, 2 clases, conexiones que son sincrónicas a las que se conectan a una sesión virtual. La primera es la introducción de los objetivos de desarrollo y esta es la segunda, en la que tomamos ya proyectos reales dentro de sus áreas de trabajo y los empezamos a localizar y los alineamos a los ODS y a la Agenda 2030. De esta manera ellos pueden aprender cómo es el proceso de localización y así de esta manera ya hacerlo en cada uno de sus proyectos. Y el tema 4 es la elaboración de los informes voluntarios nacionales y locales de los ODS. Nosotros resaltamos que es muy importante empezar a alinear los proyectos, pero también tiene la misma importancia después de que lo hemos hecho poder medir cómo estamos trabajando y cuál ha sido nuestro avance desde que empezamos a hacerlo y a implementar los ODS. Es muy importante que no nos quedemos, y eso es lo que nosotros comentamos con nuestros participantes y las personas del curso, que no nos quedemos en haber localizado, sino que podamos tener un reporte de qué es lo que hemos hecho, cómo hemos avanzado y realmente cuál ha sido nuestro aporte a la Agenda 2030. Y eso solamente puede hacerse con la medición y con un informe, ¿no? Entonces, ese también es el objetivo final de la ciudad de Cuenca, poder tener el informe voluntario local que, bueno, ya se está trabajando y les voy a comentar un poco más adelante, pero siempre con esta participación de toda la sociedad, de todos los actores involucrados. Bueno, aquí podemos ver la convocatoria. Nosotros tenemos el proceso de convocatoria dentro del municipio. Lo publicamos en todas nuestras redes para que tenga un amplio alcance y esté también al alcance de todos los ciudadanos, ¿no? Realmente creemos que este es un proceso que tiene que ser democratizado, entonces lo hacemos a través de convocatorias abiertas. Y aquí podemos ver también una fotografía de uno de los procesos que fue presencial también, en el cual se concluye todo el proceso. No sé si todavía me escuchan.
Sí, te escuchamos, sí. Quizás un minutito más o menos.
Sí, perfecto. Aquí en el encuentro de Cuenca Sostenible 2030, este es el segundo paso después del del proyecto de sensibilización. Es un encuentro anual en el que todos los actores involucrados en el proceso de aprendizaje se reúnen presencialmente para hacer un proceso de intercambio y de reflexión sobre cómo ha sido el proceso de localización. Son 2 días que manejamos realmente charlas y presentaciones y foros de alto nivel en los que los actores involucrados ya en el proceso de sensibilización empiezan a compartir sus experiencias y también sus retos y cómo los han ido solucionando. El siguiente, por favor. Aquí tenemos las fotografías de cómo se han ido ya, y tenemos el segundo, fue en noviembre la segunda edición de este proceso y tenemos alrededor de 200 participantes en cada uno de ellos. Siguiente. ¿Cuáles han sido los resultados? Tenemos ya a 23 personas formadas como formador de formadores, más de 250 servidores municipales, 50 personas capacitadas en universidades, más de 30 empresas capacitadas, y estamos ya finalizando el primer piloto de réplica con 15 representantes de instituciones públicas en Riobamba, una ciudad al norte del país, a quienes estamos ampliando este curso porque queremos también que sea una iniciativa que permanezca. En la primera edición de Cuenca 2030 se cortó con 180 personas y en la segunda, que fue en el mes de noviembre de este año, se contó con la participación de 237 personas. Esto nos da alrededor de 780 beneficiarios en lo que llevamos de implementación de este curso y del encuentro Cuenca 2030. El siguiente, por favor. El siguiente. ¿Cuáles han sido los retos para nuestro Local for Action? Es también dar un paso más allá de la localización, como les comentaba, avanzando de una localización reactiva, que es alinear los proyectos a los proyectos que ya están, alinear los ODS a los proyectos que ya existen, a pasar a identificar ODS en los que se debe trabajar y crear proyectos a partir de esa localización. También el fortalecimiento de capacidades y conocimientos del equipo técnico, que somos quienes lideramos este proceso. Siempre es importante contar con este fortalecimiento de capacidades, que en ciertos momentos ha sido un reto para nosotros. Contar con un programa de cooperación que permita generar más actividades de localización. Todavía estamos en el proceso de poder generar este programa de cooperación con nuestros socios para poder ampliarlo y poder fortalecerlo y sobre todo que sea institucionalizado, y visibilizar las actividades realizadas como el VLR de Cuenca dentro de la comunidad internacional. Como les comentaba, estamos dentro de este proceso del VLR trabajando con todos los actores que antes ya mencioné y también estamos trabajando en esto y esperamos tenerlo ya para el final del año y de esta manera poder aportar como Cuenca a un VLR que pueda llevarse a la comunidad internacional. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Esta es a grandes rasgos lo que estamos haciendo dentro de Cuenca, y una vez más agradecer a ustedes la invitación y la participación. Estamos muy contentos y agradecidos con CCLU, con PNUD, con todos los actores que nos han traído el día de hoy.
Thank you very much, Maria Isabel. I think that these two projects were giving very specific project on action, local action, and that was the question of Brooklyn. And then how the municipality is taking the overall of the SDGs to change the way and to flip the script and to bring people along, because of course these 730 people that you have trained on the SDGs are the ones that are going to be pushing the agenda forward. And I think that really at the UN, when they approved the Agenda 2030 in 2015, they didn't expect that this was going to come to the streets and this was going to be visible for citizens in the street. I mean, they hoped, but I think it was a little bit of a surprise for everyone. So thank you for bringing these two projects about one specific action, but also how these actions of policy integrates in a more comprehensive level in the municipality of Cuenca. Just two thoughts, maybe to launch in the working groups. First, both projects talk about how to bring the private sector along and how to bring people along and different actors. This is key, I think, and this is something that maybe we should find better messages. because we all say, yes, it's very important to work with the private sector, to work with the civil society, but maybe something is something that we have not developed enough narrative on the terms of the Flip the Script campaign. So that could be one. And the other thing that I'm coming again, this is brainstorming for the messages that we're going to work next year, is about the Brooklyn project, how the whole world comes to Brooklyn, because they have citizens from all over the world. And then, how these citizens link with their realities. When I had the first conversation with the team of the president of the borough, Antonio Reynoso, they said, we're super interested in what's happening in Cuenca because we have so many citizens from Cuenca. And I think that this is also the model of cities of the future, where the whole city comes, the whole world comes to the city, and then the city becomes a little world in itself. And again, how this kind of the SDGs could also be a little bit of the linkage between this mobility in the cultural approaches, because of course, once the people move, their cultures come with them. And I think the cities of the future, the bigger, but also the smaller, are seeing this. And again, mayors are many times find themselves without too many messages about how to mobilize this on a positive part. We were working also with the city, I don't remember if it's Izmir, and now they're going to kill me, or another Turkish cities. They wanted to do a Flip the Script video on precisely how they're welcoming new citizens, especially from the Middle East there. So maybe 2 or 3 messages that we could start working with. And then of course there is always the climate emergency. We have to do more in terms of how cities are contributing to really do something against climate action. And then to finalize, Maria Isabel, something that you say that was extremely important is how these SDGs affect my reality, my daily life. And it's true that I think that the local governments have realized from day one that these lovely SDGs with the no hunger, no poverty, really they mean something for the people in their towns. So we are looking forward to keep working with both of you, plus the other 4 city tales, to help you tell the story better. Because you do the action, and I think that is really our responsibility to bring these stories forward, and not only to the events that we do in the UN, that they're asking us always for better stories, better data, better communication tools, and I think that we are in the good track, but bear with us because we are still in the beginning of this work with the local tales. But I'm sure that by next year we will have something really much more powerful as we've been doing with the Flip the Script videos, etc.
I'm sure, yes. So now we're going to move towards the more co-creation exercise. We're going to break out into different rooms. We're going to split in an English working group and another Spanish working group. So just bear with us a bit. We're going to take maybe 5 minutes, and we're going to be back together in Zoom to be co-creating some messages.
Yes, I think we're going to have a cortinilla now, no?
Yes.
With the clock. So let me just introduce you to this clock that is ticking. And we had 7 years. We have done great. I think it's not easy. The mayors are telling us, yes, you are talking about SDGs. Like this is something that you come and you do. No, it's very complicated to move the municipality in a different way. But we have done very well. But now the clock is ticking, and we have to flip the script to move to the next 7 years. So we are going to have this short exercise to listen from you about ideas to move forward together.